Chapter 1, The Awakening. That's mean, Kakin. Can't you see he's crying? If you come any closer, I'll get angry. A green-haired kid yelled as he took his fighting stance to protect a kid behind him. But despite having the courage to act, the green-haired boy knew well that he had no chance to win this fight. In fact, he was scared, shaking, and had visible tears in his eyes, but he just wanted to protect his peer who was being bullied by his so-called best friend. Ha ha ha, even though you're quirkless, the bully called Kakin said while he and his lackeys activated their superpowers. You're pretending to be a hero, Deku? He added with an evil grin before he and his lackeys began their assault on the poor green-haired boy. Once the beating started, so did the pain that was followed by his shrieks. All men are not born equal. This is the harsh reality that Izuku Midoriya learned at the age of 4. He was now lying on the ground and panting after getting beaten up by Katsuki Bakugo, aka Kakin, and his lackeys for defending his peer. The same peer who ran away once the bullies started beating the shit out of Izuku. Izuku wasn't sad, though. He knew that his quirk will soon manifest. That way, he'll have the chance to become a great hero who can save everyone, or so he thought. At the hospital, you should probably give it up, the doctor pointed out without any care in the world. Once the doctor's words registered in his head, Izuku's face was ripped of any emotions he initially had. He didn't know how to react to this announcement. He was just told that he's quirkless and should give up on being a hero. The boy was so shocked that he dropped his All Might action figure, and any other words the doctor said fell on deaf ears. Is there something wrong with my Izuku? Most of the other kindergartners' quirks have already manifested. He's the only one, Inko asked before collecting Izuku's toy that he just dropped. She was worried about her son and didn't want to believe the doctor's words. She knew that if they were true, then that would mean that Izuku's dream will be crushed. It will end right here. The doctor then proceeded to explain that from what he saw from Izuku's X-ray, the boy had 2 joints in his pinky toe, which meant that he'll never manifest a quirk. The second announcement that served as a confirmation left Inko with a very devastated Izuku. That night, Izuku was watching his favorite video, the one about his idol's debut, All Might. That video never failed to put a smile on Izuku's face, but tonight things were different. Ha ha ha, everything is fine now. Why? Because I am here, the #1 hero, All Might exclaimed while saving the civilians. Mom, Izuku called his mother with a weak, monotone voice and stripped of any emotions. No matter what trouble you're in, he'll save you with a smile. Izuku slowly turned his chair to face his mom, his eyes already watery and filled with tears, ready to be unleashed. A super cool hero, that's what I want to be. Can I still be Dash? Izuku didn't get to finish his sentence because before he could, Inko immediately rushed to her son with tears coming out of her eyes too. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm sorry. I wish things were different. Inko exclaimed as she pulled her only son in a tight hug in an attempt to comfort him. But truth to be told, they needed someone to comfort them both. That's not what I wanted you to say, Izuku said in his mind as waterworks poured out his eyes. Mom, I want to be a hero. And that was how Izuku Midoriya was dubbed quirkless, having no superpower at all in a society where 80% of its population had a quirk. This made him a social outcast, deemed worthless, and being a constant target for bullies, especially from his former best friend, Kakin, who gave Izuku the insulting name Deku, which simply means useless. However, unbeknown to anyone and Izuku himself, fate had different plans for him. He was destined to walk a different path from everyone else, a path filled with sadness, hatred, and defeats, but also happiness, joy, love, and many victories until he reaches the end of his goal. Around 10 years later, Izuku had just arrived at his school, Aldra Junior High, after witnessing this morning the debut of the new pro hero, Mount Lady, and taking notes on her quirk in his Hero Analysis Journal 13. Since you're all 3rd years, it's time for you to think seriously about your future. I'll pass out handouts for your future plans, but you're all pretty much planning to go into the hero course, right? The teacher pointed out with enthusiasm. Yes, the class shouted back and cheered except for Bakugo and Izuku. The latter was just looking down at his desk and slightly raising his hand. Yes, you all have wonderful quirks, But using your powers in school is against the rules. Teach, don't lump us all in the same group. I'm not going to be stuck at the bottom with the rest of these rejects. Bakugo pointed out, much to his peers' anger. You all should shut up like the extras you are. Bakugo replied to his classmates. Oh, if I remember correctly, you want to go to UA High, right, Bakugo? The teacher questioned the ash-blonde-haired student. The rest of the students were surprised since UA is the best hero course high school in Japan, as well as the hardest to get accepted to. However, they knew that if someone had what it takes to make it to UA, then it must be their talented classmate Katsuki Bakugo. That's exactly why you guys are just extras. I aced the mock test. I'm the only one at this school who could possibly get into UA. I'll definitely surpass All Might and become the top hero. My name will be inscribed on the list of top earners. Oh yeah, Midoriya wanted to go to UA too, right? The teacher announced, which made Midoriya flinch in his seat and look nervously at Bakugo. The whole class immediately laughed at their teacher's words, as they thought it was so funny that Izuku, the quirkless kid, was thinking that he could get into UA. However, Bakugo, his bully, immediately fired an explosion at Izuku's desk and proceeded to threaten him with his explosions. Oi, DKU. You're below the rejects. You're a quirkless freak. How can you even stand in the same ring as me? You damn nerd. No, wait, Kaken. It's just that it has been my goal since I was little, and well, I won't know unless I try. Izuku nervously stuttered. What do you mean, unless you try? You piece of shit. Are you taking the fucking test for fun? What the hell can you do? You're quirkless. DKU. Bakugo growled, while Izuku just remained silent. He was too afraid to retaliate after all. Izuku looked down and clenched his fists. I won't give up. I know that I can be a hero too. I'll just have to show them. He mentally thought. The school's bell rang, meaning that it was the end of the school day. Everyone began to pack their stuff and leave, but Bakugo decided to continue bugging Izuku. He stole his Hero Analysis Journal 13 and burned it with an explosion, before finally throwing it from the window. Izuku just screamed in panic as he saw his latest Hero Analysis Journal being thrown away. If you want to be a hero that badly, there's a quick way to do it. Believe that you'll be born with a quirk in your next life and take a last chance dive off the roof. This was the last thing Bakugo harshly said without a care, before he and his lackeys left while laughing, finally leaving Izuku alone. However, Izuku was so disturbed and devastated. He was so sad, disappointed, and angry at Bakugo. How could he say something like this to him? After picking up his journal, which he managed to find, Izuku took a shortcut to be able to return to his home faster. Bad days like this one always made him want to go back home as fast as possible. But as he was passing through a tunnel, he was captured by a sludge villain who was trying to take control of his body. Izuku started to cry, struggle, and lose his consciousness as he couldn't breathe. Is this it? Is this really the end of my life? Izuku thought, as his mind began to drift away. Luckily for Izuku though, the number one hero, the symbol of peace, All Might, came out of nowhere to save the day. It's all right now, young man. I am here. The top hero said his catchphrase, before dodging the incoming attacks. He then pulled his arm to punch the villain. Texas Smash, the hero shouted, before his attack landed on the ugly sludge villain, freeing Izuku from his grasp. When Izuku woke up from his unconsciousness, he immediately entered fanboy mode as the sight of his idol registered in his mind. He asked him to sign his hero journal number 13 but gasped in delight when he saw that he already signed it. But then Izuku wanted to ask All Might one last thing, a question that mattered more than anything to him, a question that still roamed his mind for over 10 years. Can I become a hero, even if I'm quirkless? Izuku said in his mind. However, Izuku saw that the number one hero was about to leave, saying that he had to turn the villain to the authorities. This caused Izuku to panic. This may be his only chance, as he doesn't know if he will ever have the opportunity to meet All Might again. After all, All Might is a very busy person. So, in a desperate attempt, he decided to take the risk and grab onto All Might as he took off and jumped high into the air. All Might noticed that Izuku was hanging onto his leg for dear life, so he was forced to land on a roof, even though his transformation was running out. When they landed, there was a considerable puff of smoke, and when it cleared, it was revealed to be a skinny, almost anorexic-looking version of All Might. Eh? Eh? Why you're deflating. Where's All Might? Wait, don't tell me. An imposter? Are you an imposter? Izuku panicked and asked with visible confusion. He wanted to know where did his idol go. I'm indeed All Might, and this is my true form. My real name is Toshinori Yagi. All Might replied, deciding that it would be best not to lie about his secret identity. However, the blood coming out of his mouth wasn't doing a good job convincing Izuku. No way! Izuku shouted in panic again. He was having a hard time processing all of this. All Might then explained to Izuku that 5 years ago, he fought a villain who mortally wounded his respiratory system and destroyed his stomach. He visited countless doctors, but neither one could do a damn thing. This injury has now limited All Might to only being able to complete 3 hours of hero work each day. All Might also explained that the public doesn't know this information because he still has to keep the persona of the symbol of peace. If word got out of his true condition, then villains could take advantage of the situation and cause more havoc. That is why it is necessary for All Might to never show any weakness and to always have a smile on his face, so that the people won't have to worry because, I am here. After All Might's explanation, Izuku decided to ask the question, can I become a hero even though I'm quirkless? Izuku finally asked. I'm sorry, but I cannot simply say, you can become a hero even without a quirk. All Might replied with a serious tone. The job of a hero is too dangerous for somebody without a quirk. Rampaging villains would do anything they can do to achieve their goals, and that means killing as well. It is all right to dream big, young man, but you also need to put reality into consideration. All Might explained, while Izuku felt as if pieces of him were being shattered, just like the day when he discovered that he was quirkless. I see, Izuku weakly murmured, trying his best to hide his pain and hold his tears. If you want to help others, then you could also become a police officer. They're often teased because they get villains delivered to their doorstep, but that is also a fine occupation. All Might added. Finally, All Might asked to keep all of what he told Izuku a secret, as the public don't need to know that the symbol of peace was at all vulnerable. After that, he exited the rooftop and left Izuku alone. Izuku Midoriya was speechless. He didn't know how to react. He had just been told by his idol and hero that he blatantly could not be a hero no matter how hard he tried. All because he wasn't born with a quirk. Something that was completely out of his hands. All Might was the only light left for him in this world. His last hope. But now the last embers of hope he had disappeared. He then looked around and remembered that he was on a rooftop. Believe that you'll be born with a quirk in your next life and take a last chance dive off the roof. Bakugo's words came into his head. Is this really the only way? He asked himself as he took a few steps towards the edge of the building. He was considering taking Bakugo's advice. Izuku stared at the street below. The building was sure high enough, and if he jumped headfirst, then he'll definitely die. It may hurt for a second, but it's not like he wasn't used to pain. He has already endured quite a lot as it is. He took one more step, but then he remembered his mother. No, God, no. What am I thinking? I would break my mother's heart if I did that. I already promised her before, he said to himself as he backed away. At that time, he failed to notice the smoke coming from a district far away. With All Might, it really pains me to break a young man's dream like this, but I think it was the right thing to tell him. All Might murmured until he remembered something. Wait a minute, Midoriya, no way. Could it really be? All Might questioned the boy's identity in his head, but was quickly cut off by the sound of an explosion. Back to Izuku. There were so many emotions going through Izuku at that moment. Sadness, anger, hurt, depression, but the biggest one was definitely disappointment. Disappointment in himself and his idol. How could he say that? He's supposed to inspire hope into people and motivate them to achieve their dreams. These were the thoughts of Izuku Midoriya as he left the rooftop and proceeded to the ground. But then suddenly he heard an explosion. What was that? He questioned while rubbing his eyes. They were itchy for some reason. Damn Izuku, you shouldn't cry, you already knew the answer. He thought to himself while rubbing his eyes before the itchy feeling finally went away. Izuku then proceeded to run towards the place where the explosion came from out of habit. He walked towards the large crowd to see the fight that started earlier. Why am I even here? Izuku questioned himself as he remembered All Might's words and the disappointment he felt. It was no use observing quirks and analyzing them anymore since he finally understood that he'll never become a hero. However, when Izuku took a closer look and saw the sludge villain, he felt guilty. It's because of me that the sludge villain escaped from All Might. It's my fault, I'm so sorry. He mentally apologized. And from the looks of it, the villain was causing a lot of trouble. Damn it! I really am useless, Izuku said in frustration. He hated himself, he hated the fact that he was useless, that he would never amount to anything, but now he hated himself because he caused more trouble to All Might and the other heroes. He didn't even realize that the itchy feeling in his eyes came back. Then he looked to see a bunch of pro-heroes unable to do a thing as the sludge villain had a hostage. When he looked again at the villain, he realized that the hostage was none other than Bakugo, who looked like he needed help. At least from everyone's perspective minus Bakugo. Izuku just kept staring at Bakugo until their eyes met. Music, you say run. At that moment, something began to build up inside Izuku. It was a piece of him, one which he thought he cast away. But no, he couldn't because after all Izuku was a true hero. Yes, and that piece was his will to save those in need. It was his heroic spirit. So, without hesitation, Izuku rushed towards the villain so fast without thinking. He couldn't even hear the pro-heroes shouting at him to step back. Stop! Death Arms shouted, trying to stop Izuku. What the hell? That quirkless kid. All Might thought as he saw Izuku running towards the sludge villain. While he was rushing, Izuku started to remember his past, everything he has gone through. But as he was going, Izuku's eyes began to change. Their color was a glowing red and his pupils appeared to be surrounded by a black ring. His right eye had one tomo, a comma, on the ring while his left had two. He suddenly realized that everything was moving slower and slower. He didn't know what was happening right now and he didn't care, he just kept running. The sludge villain tried to attack him, but Izuku easily dodged the attacks as he was able to see them coming from a mile away. Deku, stay back, Bakugo murmured weakly, before losing his consciousness. You looked like you were asking for help, Izuku said with tears in his eyes. As he didn't know if he'll survive this battle, he only knew that he had to save Bakugo. Izuku then grabbed Bakugo and tried to free him, but then dodged as the sludge villain used the latter's explosion quirk to fire an explosion. I really am pathetic. While I'm standing here doing nothing, an innocent child is risking his life in my place. All Might thought as he was carefully watching Izuku. Wait, his eyes are different? All Might questioned in shock as he noticed Izuku's eyes. Just as the second explosion was coming, Izuku grabbed Bakugo's wrist and pushed it, so that the palm of his hand would face the villain's eye, and with that, the second explosion was shot directly at the villain's eye, blinding him. The villain yelped in pain, and Izuku seized the opportunity to free the unconscious Bakugo from his grasp and grabbed him. However, the villain managed to regain his composure and shouted, "I'll kill you, kid!" And as he was rushing to attack Izuku and the unconscious Bakugo, All Might appeared, blocking the attack. Ha! I really am pathetic, huh? I really need to practice what I preach. Izuku's eyes shot open and he turned around slowly, feeling intense relief wash over him. The towering figure of All Might stared back at him with a smile as wide as he'd ever seen, the back of his shirt dripping with presumably the slime he shielded the teens from. Apologies for taking so long, but have no fear. Why? Because I am here, he said his catchphrase, before pulling back his arm to punch the villain. Detroit Smash. With that, All Might delivered the mother of all uppercuts, splattering the sludge villain, extinguishing most of the fires, and creating a freaking rainstorm that was preceded by a moment of silence. Holy shit, he changed the weather with one punch. A bystander cried out in awe as the crowd erupted into triumphant cheers. After the incident, Izuku's eyes became normal again, and the pro-heroes didn't wait for any second to scold him for rushing out there against the sludge villain. There was absolutely no reason for you to put yourself in danger, Death Arms scolded Izuku. However, Kamui Woods, followed by Death Arms, praised Bakugo for his bravery and even offered him to become their sidekick once he becomes a hero. Izuku just rolled his eyes at the irony. He wanted to apologize to All Might, but the hero was currently overwhelmed by an army of fans and reporters. So Izuku decided to go back home. On his way back, Izuku was thinking about apologizing to All Might on his website when he heard his insulting name. He turned around to see Bakugo. Great, he thought. His day was becoming worse by the second. DKU. I never asked you for help, and you didn't help me. Got it. I was fine by myself. You're a quirkless failure playing without a full deck. Don't think you can look down on me. Are you trying to make me owe you? Don't look down on me, you damn nerd. After Bakugo's unique thank you for saving my life, Izuku took a couple of steps to go on his way until someone familiar appeared from an alley. I am here. All Might. Izuku was surprised to see his idol in front of him once again until he transformed back to his skinny form. Ah! He screamed when All Might transformed back. Young man, I came with a thanks, a correction and a suggestion. All Might began. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't told me about your life, I wouldn't have been able to act. You, the quirkless timid boy, have inspired me to act and go over my limit. All Might said while Izuku was in awe from his words. Music, you can become a hero. Top heroes have stories about them since school days, but most of their stories have one thing in common. Their bodies moved before they had a chance to think. All Might exclaimed as Izuku began to tear up. He slowly understood what All Might was trying to say. Izuku clenched his fists and looked down. Was this really happening? Is he going to find a new light of hope? That was true for you, too, wasn't it? All Might said while looking at Izuku, who was now sure of what the older man was trying to tell him. Yeah. His voice cracked because he was crying. He then held his chest and fell on his knees, before remembering all the hardships and pain he faced in his life because he was quirkless. Izuku remembered his mother's words. I'm sorry, Izuku. That's not it, Mom. Back then what I wanted you to say, the words I wanted to hear were, you can become a hero. All Might said to Izuku, who was crying even harder as he clenched his chest, the former understanding what Izuku has been through. After all those years of hardships, he finally heard the words he always wanted to hear, the words that will fix his broken dream. Then, after about a minute, All Might looked at Izuku. His Sharingan was activated again. Oh yeah, you told me you were quirkless, yet you possess a quirk. You were even using it while fighting the sludge villain. What does this mean? Izuku looked at All Might shocked, as if he said that the earth was flat. I'm sorry, All Might. I think I didn't hear you well, but did you say that I have a quirk? All Might then proceeded to take a picture of Izuku and showed it to him, which made the latter tear up again, but then he started to mutter at a great speed, making it impossible for the writer to comprehend what he was saying. Shut up. It's like your quirk gives you the power to spout nonsense at an incredible speed. All Might shouted and let out a sigh. It seems like you didn't know you had a quirk, which is weird, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. More importantly, do you know how to activate it and deactivate it? He asked, to which Izuku replied with a no. Maybe you can try to remember what made it activate back then and what made it deactivate. All Might suggested. Izuku thought about it for a moment, before remembering that all he was thinking about earlier was saving Kaken. He couldn't let the villain hurt him or worse because of him. He wanted to save him, even if he was a jerk. But that's not only it, he hated himself for being useless. And right now he was remembering his sad and cursed past. But All Might's words really made a great emotional impact on him. So, he deduced that his new quirk activates from emotional stress, or at least he thinks so. So, he then proceeded to relax, before his Sharingan faded. Did you figure it out? All Might asked the young teen. I think. Izuku tried to concentrate and reactivated his Sharingan, the itch in his eyes that he felt for a second confirming it until he felt tired and deactivated it. Yeah, I figured it out, but I still don't know its powers. Well, we can leave that for tomorrow. Anyways, young Midoriya, I want you to inherit my power. Your power? Izuku questioned, totally surprised by what he just heard. The tabloids called it superhuman strength and a boost, and I constantly dodged the question during interviews with a funny joke. Because the symbol of peace, All Might had to be a natural-born hero. But young man, I will tell you the truth. My quirk was passed on to me like a sacred torch. All Might explained. It was passed on to you? Izuku questioned in complete shock. That's right, and next it's your turn. Wait a minute. It's true that your quirk is something hotly debated as one of the world's greatest mysteries. So much so that not a day goes by when I don't see someone talking about it online. But, well, I don't really understand what you mean by inheriting or passing on a quirk. I've never heard of anything like that before, and it's never even been conjectured in the debate. Why is that? Is it because since the dawn of history, a quirk like that was never confirmed? In the first place, Izuku began to mutter again, but was thankfully stopped by All Might, who gave him a chop on his head. Nonsense. I may hide a lot of things, but I don't lie. The power to transfer power. That is the quirk I inherited. I was crowned with one for all. All Might exclaimed as a white light shined from his palm. One for all. That's right. One person cultivates the power and passes it on to another person, who also cultivates it and passes it on. It is the crystallization of power that spins together the voices of those who need help with a courageous heart. All Might further explained. Why are you giving me something so great? Izuku asked. Was he really worthy of such power, All Might's power? I have been looking for a successor, and then I thought it would be right for you to inherit it. You were just a quirkless hero fanboy, or so you thought, but you were more heroic than anyone else back there. All Might said as Izuku started to tear up again. So, I'm giving you this offer. Izuku Midoriya, I want you to be my successor. Izuku didn't need to think about it twice. After what All Might did for him. After he gave him hope again. Hope that was so much stronger than ever as the past embers became a roaring inferno. There was no way he could refuse his offer. I accept, Izuku responded, and All Might smirked at his successor. Chapter 2, Training for the Entrance Exam Part 1. The next day Izuku was heading to UA early in the morning just like All Might instructed him. While he was on his way to UA High School, Izuku was trying to process everything that happened yesterday. And he had to admit he still couldn't believe it. I got a quirk of my own, fought a villain to save Kakin, and not only did I meet the #1 hero All Might but became his successor. And now, I'm just a few steps away from UA's gates. It's unbelievable. Is this a dream or something? Izuku thought as he finally arrived at UA's main entrance. He was met by the sight of his hero and idol, All Might, something he wasn't quite used to yet. In fact, it was so hard for him not to enter his fanboy mode. The only thing that was stopping him was his curiosity as to why All Might brought him to UA. He just told him yesterday over the phone to meet him there, but why, he had no idea. I have All Might's phone number, Izuku screamed in his head. It will take some time for him to stop fanboying over every little thing All Might say or do, hopefully. His thoughts were finally interrupted by All Might. Young Midoriya, you came on time just like I told you. Here, take this. All Might said while giving Midoriya a visitor's pass. Izuku gawked at the card for a few seconds before he entered the school and followed All Might. They kept walking for a few minutes until they reached one of the school's buildings. Where are we going? Izuku asked while walking in the corridors. You're going to meet my personal doctor so that we could learn more about your quirk. All Might replied before he opened a door which revealed that they have arrived at the nurse's office. Young Midoriya, meet Recovery Girl. She's my doctor. Once Izuku saw the heroine, he couldn't help but go into his fanboy mode. Recovery Girl, I know her. The youthful heroine who can almost heal any injury. Izuku began to mutter, but then looked at All Might, who was face-palming. Sorry, Izuku said with embarrassment. All Might then decided to change into his true form. It was better to conserve his energy for when he'll need it. So, this is your successor Tashinori, the one you mentioned over the phone yesterday. Quite young, to be honest. Recovery Girl pointed out as she examined Izuku. The boy was so thin and scrawny that one would think that he's malnourished or something. All Might nodded and then said, Young Midoriya here has the heart to become a true hero. He awakened his quirk yesterday, and I want you to examine him. Very well, show me your quirk, young man. Izuku nodded and activated his Sharingan. I see you already know how to activate it. Good, now tell me, during the sludge villain attack, how did you feel? Izuku then proceeded to remember yesterday's fight. I saw everything moving slower. It was like I could predict his movements every time he tried to attack me, and so I dodged them easily. I can even say that I could see and read the slightest tension in his muscles if I concentrated hard enough. Both All Might and Recovery Girl were amazed at how such a quirk made this frail boy this strong from the first time using it. I can clearly see that it's a powerful quirk, Recovery Girl replied, which made Izuku smile sheepishly and blush as he rubbed the back of his head. But I need additional information. It appears that I can study your quirk more when you're fighting, Recovery Girl said. So, you want me to fight him? All Might replied, which made Izuku gulp. Recovery Girl elbowed All Might's side saying, "Of course not, you idiot. You would be too strong for the boy." Recovery Girl side then said, "I have the perfect candidate for this job. He owes me anyway. However, before we get to that, young boy, did you manifest any other power?" What do you mean? Izuku asked in confusion. Your file here says that your mother has weak telekinesis and your father can spit fire. Can you use any of those powers? She asked him as she and All Might's eyes narrowed, expecting something from Izuku. When I was a kid, I tried to use any of my parents' quirks, but it didn't work, Izuku explained. However, he didn't know if things could be different now. Who knows, maybe his quirk was a mutation of either. Think you can attract my pen? She asked. I'll try, Izuku responded. For many years, he has watched his mom using her quirk and even asked her to explain how she uses it, hoping that somehow, he had his mother's quirk but didn't know how to use it. He tried to focus and use his mother's tips to attract the pen, but nothing happened. Maybe if I activate my quirk something could happen, he thought as he activated his Sharingan and tried to use his mother's quirk. But once again he failed. I can't use my mother's quirk, he finally said after his failed attempt. What about your father's? Can you use it? All Might asked before he and Recovery Girl gave each other a quick look as if something was a little odd. Meanwhile, Izuku tried his best to make flames come out of his mouth, but nothing came out except for his saliva. Sorry, Izuku said. It's fine, it's part of the test, she assured him. I think it's time now to go outside and further study your quirk. A few minutes later, Izuku, All Might in his muscle form, and Recovery Girl were in the track field waiting for the person Recovery Girl called for help. Let's get this over with so that I can go back to my nap, a skinny man said. He was wearing black clothes, a gray scarf, and looked like he was tired and worn out with his messy black hair, as if he just came from his bed. Aizawa, this is an important matter and I want you to help me research this young boy's quirk. Don't forget that you owe me, Recovery Girl replied, which earned her a sigh from him. Yes, I know. He then glanced at the boy and All Might. What is he doing here? Aizawa asked. Well, I asked him to help me with researching this boy's quirk, since he fought many villains and sure saw many quirks. Recovery Girl lied easily. Well, let's go kid, show me your quirk. Izuku activated his Sharingan, to which Aizawa smiled. This boy has an ocular quirk like me, that's interesting, he mentally thought. Aizawa then proceeded to attack Izuku, going easy on the young boy, of course. He tried to land a kick, but Izuku was able to read his movements and perfectly dodge. Aizawa then decided to use his scarf to capture Izuku and go a bit harder on the boy. This time Izuku hardly dodged the attack. Not bad, but this kid's physical attributes are worse than average. It seems to me that he's only able to dodge thanks to his quirk and his analysis. I wonder what would happen if I pushed him more. Aizawa then rushed and landed a roundhouse kick to Izuku's side, which made the latter fall on the ground. He managed to get up, only to be met with a punch to his face, which knocked him back. If all you're going to do is dodge my attacks, you will never win. I thought you had potential, but it seems I was wrong about you, Aizawa said, in a cold and monotone voice as he watched Izuku shaking for some reason. Music. My Hero Academia OST You Say Run. After hearing his words, Izuku was nervous and angry at himself. He clenched his fists in anger as the beating brought back some bad memories. Even after I got a quirk, nothing has changed. I'm still useless. A Deku. And on top of that, Mr. Aizawa said that I had no potential in front of All Might. At this rate, All Might could give up on me being his successor. Izuku thought in frustration. No. All Might said I can become a hero. He offered me to become his successor. I can't let him down. I can't fail him. I need to show them all that I can become a hero too. Izuku mentally thought as he began to get up again. Aizawa is sure pushing the kid. Both All Might and Recovery Girl thought. Izuku stood again on his feet after an elbow to his chest. With a determined look in his eyes, he started dodging more of Aizawa's attacks. But it was like he was predicting every move. No, he knew how Aizawa would move. Aizawa stood there in awe. It's true that he was holding back on the kid, but this isn't something he sees every day. But then Aizawa was more shocked to see Izuku moving like him. Sure, his moves lacked the same agility and flexibility levels, but these were indeed his movements. Aizawa wasn't the only one surprised. Even All Might and Recovery Girl were shocked to see Izuku taking the offensive. The Sharingan user tried to imitate All Might's punches, which Aizawa easily dodged. But then Izuku switched to using Aizawa's kicks. Even though his moves were sloppy and doing nothing since Aizawa dodged them all, Izuku wasn't going to give up. He got a chance yesterday to change his miserable life, and he wasn't going to let it go. Mr. Aizawa. Aizawa looked at the boy in awe, his eyes widening at Izuku's determined face. I do have potential, Izuku yelled, with a smile on his face. He ducked to dodge Aizawa's kick, and then jumped to punch him in the face, only for the punch to graze Aizawa, who managed to dodge the punch at the last second. That's enough, Recovery Girl said. Let's all go back to my office. Aizawa wasn't able to take his eyes off Izuku for a moment. Something just happened during their battle, and he thinks he already knows what is it. Wait, Aizawa said. I want to test something first. Midoriya, right? Come with me to the gym, you guys can come too. Upon arriving at the gym, Aizawa proceeded to grab his scarf and use it to capture a dummy using one of his basic capture techniques. He then turned to face Izuku. Midoriya, I want you to capture this dummy the same way I did. Here, take it. Izuku grabbed Aizawa's scarf and stared at it. Are you sure I'll be able to use it like you? Izuku asked. Yes, just try to copy what I did, Aizawa replied. Okay, Izuku said, as he tightened his grip on the capture weapon and started to mimic Aizawa's movements, capturing the dummy the same way Aizawa did. I did it, Izuku cheered. Everyone was clearly surprised, especially Aizawa. He stared at the dummy for a moment, before turning to Izuku. Midoriya, did you know that it took me a year of training to perfect this capture technique I just showed you? What do you mean? Izuku asked. Sonny, it appears to me that your eyes also give you the power to copy other people's fighting style, Recovery Girl replied. Izuku was shocked as he heard what he can do. Can he copy Quirks too? All Might asked. Well, that's an interesting theory, let's see. Recovery Girl proceeded to kiss Izuku's forehead to heal him, which made Izuku flinch for a second. Well, can you copy my quirk? Izuku then proceeded to try to stretch his lips like Recovery Girl, but eventually failed. Good job, everyone. Now let's go back to my office, Recovery Girl said. I still want to check something. After they all arrived at Recovery Girl's office, with even Aizawa tagging along, Recovery Girl proceeded to check on Izuku's eyes. After a moment, Izuku said that he's tired and that he can no longer keep his quirk activated. It's okay, Midoriya. I think I already have everything I need, Recovery Girl said with a gentle smile, as she tapped a few things on her keyboard. Did you figure out what his quirk is, Recovery Girl? All Might asked. Not really, I never saw a quirk like his before, but I can say that it's a transformation type. When he activates his quirk, he can predict his opponent's movements, as if he was slightly seeing the future. He can even see the slightest tension in his opponent's muscles, giving him an enhanced perception. But the most shocking thing is that he can copy his opponent's fighting style and techniques, with a restriction though. His body must be physically able to do it, Aizawa pointed out. After fighting the Sharingan user, he managed to break his quirk and know its limits and weaknesses. Exactly, Recovery Girl replied with a nod. Looks like you'll have to train your body, young Midoriya. If you do, I have no doubt that you'll become a great hero, All Might pointed out, which made Izuku smile. Well, there's something else you need to know, Recovery Girl said. while showing them a picture of Izuku's right eye and left eye beside each other. If you look at his right eye, he has only one of those things that looks like a comma, a tomo to be precise, but on his left eye he has two of them. Yeah. I was really surprised to see this when I looked at myself in the mirror yesterday. Izuku replied, curious about the reason he didn't have the same number of tomo in both. All I can say is that maybe his quirk can awaken to a next level where both of his eyes will have the two tomos. Recovery Girl deduced. His quirk can become even stronger. Now that's good news for you, young Midoriya, All Might said, smiling at his successor. Indeed, it seems like he does have a lot of untapped potential, Aizawa added. Finally, I realized that Midoriya can activate his quirk for 15 minutes until he gets tired since his quirk uses a lot of stamina. Recovery Girl said, we can call it Sharingan. The copy will I. Sharingan is a cool name. Thanks a lot for today, Recovery Girl, and you too, Mr. Aizawa and All Might, Izuku said while bowing, showing respect to his elders before leaving. Midoriya, if you manage to get into UA, I'll be sure you end up in my class, Aizawa thought, showing a great interest in the boy. The next day, Izuku woke up early. He knew he had to meet All Might at Dagoba Municipal Beach at 5 a.m. and set off early to be on time. He had to admit, he was surprised by the sight of the dumpster in front of him. Right on time, young Midoriya. I have to say your fight with Aizawa yesterday was impressive. Even if he won't admit it, I'm certain that he was impressed too with your quirk. But as you heard yesterday, we need to work on your physical shape so that you can become even stronger. Not to mention to be able to inherit one for all too. 'Cause if the vessel isn't strong enough, I believe your limbs will explode, All Might said while laughing. Izuku was happy to hear his mentor's comment until the last part, which made him panic and scream. So, is this where I'm going to train? Izuku asked as he looked around him. He was wondering why would All Might bring him to a dumpster like this. Yes, you'll have to clear all the trash here. Heroes these days all think about fame and money, while in the past being a hero meant helping the community without something in exchange. I did some research and found how beautiful this beach used to be until it became a dumpster. So I want you, young Midoriya, to clean this place. All Might explained, and Izuku couldn't help but think that All Might had a point. I see, I will gladly do it, All Might, Izuku replied with a determined look on his face. That's the spirit. But there's something else I want you to do, All Might said, which made Izuku curious. I want you to go 3 dojos, 1 dojo per 3 months. After you left yesterday, Aizawa commented on how stronger you could get if you get some combat experience, and after watching your sparring match with Aizawa, I thought it would be better if you learned some martial arts. 3 dojos. Well, of course I'll have to work harder than anyone to get to the number 1 spot in the entrance exam. Do you have any recommendation, All Might? Well, I highly recommend a Muay Thai dojo. Maybe a Taekwondo dojo would help too. And the third one, I'm leaving it up to you. Muay Thai and Taekwondo, Izuku murmured. But what about the third one? Izuku thought back to when he was fighting Aizawa. Maybe I can use a capture weapon like his. But I don't know the material his weapon is made of, and he won't have the time to teach me himself. I also need something I could use safely without injuring someone or myself. Izuku thought for a moment before realizing what he wanted to do. I'll train on how to use a staff. If one day something happens that makes me unable to use my quirk, I'll need to be able to defend myself. That's a good choice, young Midoriya, and quite the reasoning you got there. Here, take this, I call it, Aim to Pass American Dream Plan Dash. Follow this and I'm sure you'll be able to pass the UA's entrance exam. All Might. It's true that I want to pass, but more importantly I want to be the number 1 applicant, Izuku pointed out, to which All Might smirked. Ha ha ha. That's the spirit, young Midoriya. Now get ready because your training begins now, All Might said as he pointed at some tires. Start by clearing those tires, he ordered. And thus began Izuku Midoriya's 10 months of training. He had to admit that All Might's Aim to Pass American Dream Plan was incredible, as it did even include his sleep schedule and a special diet to follow. It was also hard since he had to clean the beach early before school, then go to the Muay Thai dojo after school, then go back home to study. When you think of it, it was pretty hard, but Izuku made sure to follow it. The good thing was that after the sludge villain incident, Bakugo stopped talking and bullying Izuku, which allowed him to focus on his studies and training without any disturbance. Muay Thai Dojo. Izuku entered the kendo dojo, and as he did, he saw an old man sitting at a table and drinking his tea. He had teal eyes, short ginger hair, and was well built for an old man. "Hello, I am Izuku Midoriya, and I'm here because I wish to learn and train under you." Izuku Midoriya, huh? I can clearly see that you need, well, a lot of training, the older man said as he observed the boy who was in front of him. "I have to ask you though, why do you seek my training?" he asked. "I want to become a great hero, one who will save everyone with a smile, sir. I'm planning on getting into UA as my first step, but right now I'm too weak. I have to get stronger." "Very well, I can see that you have a pure heart inside of you. I am Daisuke Kendo and I will gladly train you, Izuku Midoriya. However, I must warn you that things aren't going to be easy for you." Daisuke introduced himself. "Thank you very much, and I'll do my best, Kendo-sensei," Izuku replied, eager to start his training. "Excellent response. Now show me the power of youth," the man shouted with enthusiasm while Izuku had a puzzled look on his face. 2 months later. For the last 2 months, Izuku trained as hard as he can, always pushing himself, both mentally and physically. Especially the mental part was very difficult for him, or at least during the first few weeks. Izuku would go and copy his sensei's moves and techniques, adapting them to his body's height, weight, and physical attributes. Of course, he would leave the harder techniques for when he becomes stronger, but it didn't stop Daisuke and his pupils' amazement at how fast he was progressing. They all acknowledged the fact that he was some kind of prodigy, as they never knew he was secretly copying their moves with his Sharingan, something that made him better at using it. One day though, as Izuku had just won one of his sparring matches, Daisuke noticed that Izuku became much stronger than before, but the boy still had some problems like his low self-esteem and lack of confidence, so he decided to invite a special guest for tomorrow. That and his social skills needed some work too. Maybe a new friend could help him. The next day, Izuku went to the dojo and was ready for practice, but was quickly greeted by his sensei. "Midoriya, my boy, come here, it's time for a special sparring match." He patted his head and told him to follow him. "Yes, Kendo-sensei." Izuku went to the training hall and saw a girl of medium height and a slim build. She had teal eyes and long, ginger hair that she wore tied into a high ponytail on the left side of her head. Her bangs are split into 3 clumps around her eyes, and some of her hair sticks up in large tufts on the top of her head. "This is my granddaughter, Itsuka Kendo." The old man introduced his grandchild to Izuku. "And a nice to meet you, Kendo." Izuku stuttered and blushed. He couldn't help but think that Itsuka must be the most beautiful girl he ever met. "Nice to meet you too, Midoriya," Kendo said with a sweat drop, taken back a little by the boy's antics. "Itsuka will be your sparring partner today, Midoriya." What? But I can't hit a girl, sensei. It goes against my morals," Izuku replied nervously. This was the first time he ever spoke to a girl, and now he had to be less than 2 meters close to one and fight her. No, he wasn't ready for something like this at all. Unfortunately for Izuku though, what he said was a big mistake. "What do you mean by that? You think I'm weak?" Kendo replied, with an angry tone causing Izuku to flinch. She didn't like when boys refused to fight her because she's a girl. "Which is why I decided that you'll spar against her. Look, Midoriya, you have to stop being shy of girls all the time at some point. You know that as a hero you'll have to fight villainesses sometime. A weakness like this could cost you dearly in battle. Not to mention, your lack of confidence and self-esteem is also an issue at hand, and you know it. You want to become a proper hero, am I right?" the older man whispered to the boy. Izuku could only nod in agreement, before the 2 teenagers took their fighting stances, and looked in each other's eyes, ready to face each other. At least Izuku was just shaking and looking nervous. "He's good, I can't see an opening," Izuku thought. Even though he was shaking, Izuku's stance was still almost flawless. "Is this really the right thing? How can I just hit a girl? I can't do it," Izuku thought. Itsuka was the first one to attack, as she started with a roundhouse kick, but Izuku blocked it with his left hand. "The strength is the real deal," Izuku thought as he felt the power of her kick. He may have blocked it, but he still felt the impact reaching his head. Itsuka then tried to land a bunch of punches and kicks, but Izuku managed to dodge them until he received a powerful punch to his gut, which made him fall on the ground. "What's wrong? Can't you do anything except for running away?" Itsuka taunted, attempting to make Izuku fight her. However, Izuku stood up again and retook his defensive pose, which made Itsuka frown. Itsuka decided that she had enough of this. If he wasn't going to attack her, then she may as well end this match immediately. She then rushed at him and elbowed his chest, stunning him, before delivering one last powerful kick to his face, which made Izuku fall on the ground. "Why? Why didn't you attack me? Grandpa told me about how strong you are, and that you're one of his strongest students. So why are you holding back on me? Is it because I'm a girl?" Itsuka said with frustration. "I just can't." Izuku began but was quickly interrupted. "Is it because I'm a girl that I can't enjoy fighting like boys? Tell me, how is it my fault that I'm a girl? It's not something that I could have chosen. It wasn't a choice," she yelled with a sad expression on her face. It's not like she hated being a girl, but sometimes she wished she could have been a boy if that is what it would have taken for her to enjoy fighting like she wanted to. Izuku was silent for a moment, as he was reflecting on her words before looking back at her. He saw that she had visible tears in her eyes. "What am I doing? All my life, people treated me differently because I was quirkless and it made me sad. Yet here I am treating Kendo differently because she's a girl. For God's sake, Izuku, you're supposed to become a hero who'll put a smile on people's faces, not make them cry. She's also strong. She's not weak at all. I really am an idiot." Izuku then stood up and took back his fighting stance. "I'm sorry, Kendo, it was foolish of me to hold back. Let's have a second round right now, and I promise that this time I'll give it my all," Izuku said with a smile on his face. Itsuka looked at Izuku to see if he was making fun of her or something, but she only saw a pure and honest smile. "All right, but don't you dare break your promise, you hear me?" she said, as she wiped her tears and retook her stance, before she rushed at him with another roundhouse kick, only for Izuku to swiftly dodge it and knee her in the stomach. "I never break any promises or go back on my words," Izuku exclaimed. "At last, someone who won't hold back on me because of my gender," Itsuka thought with a smile as she clenched her stomach. She then looked back at Izuku, who was already in front of her, and punched her in her cheek, knocking her down. "Do you yield?" Izuku asked, with his hand outstretched for her. "I do," Itsuka replied with a smile, as she grabbed his hand and got up. "I have to say you're pretty strong, Kendo, and no one should ever hold back on you or he'll regret it. But you're even stronger, that punch really stung," Itsuka replied as she was still clenching her stomach. "I'm really sorry, Kendo." Izuku kept bowing and apologizing repeatedly. Itsuka gave Izuku a light karate chop on his head before saying, "Stop it. You should be happy that you won. Also, you can call me by my first name." Itsuka blushed after saying that. "Right, let's do our best from now on, Itsuka. You can call me Izuku too," Izuku said with a blush. "I called a girl by her first name. I'm on a first-name basis with a girl," he thought. "I won't lose next time, Izuku," Itsuka said as she giggled. Daisuke looked at the two teenagers with a smile on his face. "Midoriya, Itsuka, this experience will surely help both of you grow in your journeys. Or not," he thought, as Izuku was becoming red and a stuttering mess after getting a friendly hug from his granddaughter before he finally passed out. "Izuku, are you okay? Oh my God. I think he has a fever. Grandpa, what should we do?" Itsuka asked her grandfather, worried about her new friend. "Just give him some space, Itsuka. He's just a hopeless case," Daisuke said as he face-bombed. The next day, a student who has been amazed by Izuku's development for a while now finally decided to approach him. After hearing that he managed to defeat their sensei's granddaughter, who is by far considered one of the strongest 5 in the dojo, he just wanted to face him. That said boy had a tail that looked like a lion's tail. His hair was blonde, had a medium height, and well-built body. "You're Izuku Midoriya, right?" the boy asked. Izuku looked at the owner of the voice before replying, Yes. I'm Mashireo Ojiro. I heard that you defeated Kendo-sensei's granddaughter yesterday. Although she comes here from time to time, I'm well aware of her strength. I also heard that it's only been 2 months since you joined us here. Yeah, I guess I was lucky, Izuku replied, smiling sheepishly. Did you need something from me? Izuku asked. Midoriya, I want to spar with you. Right now? Izuku questioned, surprised by Ojiro's request. Yes, please, Ojiro replied with a lot of enthusiasm, reminding him of Daisuke. I also want to see that match, Daisuke said as he came to the training hall. It will be a good experience for both of you, and you'll be able to see how far you've come. I expect a fair fight with no holding back. Understood. Yes, Kendo-sensei, the 2 boys replied as they took their stances, each of them trying to find an opening. Then show me the power of youth, Daisuke shouted. He's good. I can't find any opening, as expected of Ojiro. That's for sure one of the top 5 students here, Izuku said in his head, as he analyzed his opponent's stance. But, Izuku thought as he rushed at Ojiro with a punch. Ow, Itsuka! Izuku shouted as Itsuka was holding a bag of ice and using it on Izuku's shoulder. Come on, Izuku. Don't be such a baby, and let's get done with this, Itsuka said as she held the bag of ice on his injury. Izuku grunted as his shoulder really hurt him. He expected Ojiro to be strong, but not this strong. He didn't last long until Ojiro kicked him in his shoulder and elbowed him in his chest. You really are strong, Ojiro. You destroyed my shoulder, Izuku pointed out. You're pretty strong too, Midoriya. You made me go all out to win, so don't underestimate yourself. I definitely see now how you were able to defeat Kendo, Ojiro replied. I kinda wish you didn't, Izuku replied as he held his injured arm. I'm pretty sure that you'll be a worthy sparring partner. I think we should spar more often, the other teen exclaimed. Next time, I'll be the one to beat you, Izuku, Kendo pointed out. Am I the dojo's official punching bag or something? Izuku asked. May I also spar with you, Midoriya? Daisuke asked with a fake innocent aura, but truth to be told, he just wanted to bully his student. Sensei, not you too, Izuku replied while the other 2 teens laughed. Izuku looked at both Itsuka and Ojiro. This was the first time he really socialized with kids his age in a long time. It was weird, but he kinda liked his interactions with them. They didn't seem like bad people too, and maybe they can become his first real friends. No, for some reason, he can already call them his friends. Daisuke just looked at Izuku, who had a genuine smile on his face. He was happy to know that Izuku was finally coming out of his shell. Chapter 3, Training for the Entrance Exam Part 2. The 3 martial artists had just finished their training this morning, and since today was just another day of their summer vacation, they decided to hang out together after taking a shower and changing their clothes. And luckily, none of them lived that far from the dojo. Right now, they were currently sitting in a cafe. Itsuka and Ojiro were busy looking at the menu, while Izuku was more invested in his thoughts. Izuku had to admit that having friends after 10 years of isolation was mentally exhausting. He didn't know how to converse or interact with kids his age. He didn't have any interesting topics to talk about except for heroes, not to mention his sense of humor was lacking a lot. This made him so nervous. Deep inside, he knew that Itsuka and Ojiro were different from his classmates at his school, but he couldn't help but think that they would get bored of him. Izuku/Midoriya. Both teens called his name, making him flinch before looking back at them. Yeah, he replied. You haven't opened your menu yet, Itsuka pointed out. Kendo and I are ready to order, so we're waiting for you, Ojiro added. All right, Izuku shot back as he quickly held the menu and opened it. Izuku, you're holding the menu upside down, Itsuka chuckled. Oh, I guess that's why I am having a hard time reading it. Ha ha ha. He sheepishly smiled before flipping it back. He was embarrassed about the whole thing. They must think I'm lame now, don't they? He mentally thought. That is because when Izuku used to be a kid, he used to be so clumsy, and occasionally he thinks that other than being quirkless, his clumsiness was one of the reasons Bakugo started to call him Deku. I guess I should just enjoy whatever little time left I have with them. He let out a sigh before closing the menu. "I'll get an Oreo milkshake," he simply said. After getting their orders, Itsuka and Ojiro began to talk about their schools and what it's like until it was Izuku's turn. "So, what is your school like?" Ojiro asked. "Oh no," he thought. The two teens watched as Izuku's expression shifted into an uneasy one, as if they had just asked him what is it like to be in hell. Izuku tried to think of the right words to say. He knew he was a bad liar, but he was never going to tell them the truth. He was afraid that they would start making fun of him too. "It's quiet." Both Itsuka and Ojiro gave him a puzzled look. "And nothing exciting ever happens, but nothing bad happens either." What he just said was actually true in some sense. Bakugo had stopped bullying him ever since the sludge villain, and because of that, the others just forgot about his existence. Even with that, Aldra Junior High wasn't the most exciting place either. "I see," Ojiro hummed in thought. "They lack the spirit of youth." Ojiro nodded to himself and Itsuka looked at him with a flat expression. "Please don't become Daisuke Kendo 2.0. It's kinda weird how you sometimes act like Grandpa," Itsuka exclaimed. "Too late. He's already my idol and I want to be like him one day," Ojiro replied, while Izuku just took a sip from his milkshake and stared at them. Well, they are fun to be around. Izuku thought he would definitely miss them. After all, even if they weren't going to leave him, this was his last month in the dojo. "So, who's your idol, Itsuka?" Izuku asked, seeing a chance to be a part of their conversation. "That would be the rabbit hero, Miruko," Itsuka proudly exclaimed. "One day I want to be like her. I want to be strong, beat the bad guys, and save people," she added, only to see Izuku looking at her with stars in his eyes. He was entering his fanboy mode. "I know her," he half shouted. "She's one of the new rising heroes in the new generation, and I can clearly see that she'll make it to the top 10 really soon. Her quirk is called Rabbit, and it grants her incredible leg strength, allowing her to jump and kick with extreme force. She can even destroy large chunks of the ground by thumping her foot. She also has excellent hearing thanks to her rabbit-like ears, and possesses animal instincts that alert her to nearby danger." Before Izuku could continue his muttering, he saw Itsuka and Ojiro, wearing confused and surprised expressions on their faces. "Oh no," he thought. He just muttered he did it. They're gonna make fun of him. He'll go back to being alone with no friends. He began to panic as multiple scenarios began to form in his head. But what happened next was definitely none of them. "Wow, Midoriya, you really know a lot about quirks. Call me impressed," Ojiro said with a smile. "Yes, you know even more about her quirk and abilities than I do. If you don't mind, can you tell me more about it?" Itsuka asked him. However, Izuku was just sitting there confused. "Are you guys not annoyed by my muttering?" he asked, and already anticipated the worst. "Not at all, it just shows us how much you're dedicated to quirk studies. It shows that you have the spirit of youth," Ojiro exclaimed with a chuckle, as the last part was just there to tease Itsuka, who lightly hit him in his shoulder. Ignoring what he said about the spirit of youth. "He's right, it's admirable, not to mention it's kinda cute," Itsuka added, and Izuku's face turned completely red. Did she just say that his muttering was actually cute? Actually, did a girl just praise him? "A cute girl told me that my muttering is cute," Izuku screamed in his head. "Are you okay, Midoriya?" Ojiro asked. "Why yeah, I'm fine," he shot back and took more sips from his milkshake. After he finally calmed down, he began to process what he just heard. Not only did the duo had no problem with his muttering, but they also found his obsession with heroes respectable and admirable. Maybe they're really different, and maybe they could be his lifetime friends. He just needed to check one thing, though. "How do you guys feel about quirkless people?" Izuku questioned, earning him puzzled looks once again. "Well, I never met one, but in the end, they're humans too, just like us. It doesn't matter if they don't have a quirk. I mean, our ancestors didn't have quirks either." Itsuka was the first to respond. "Yeah, same thing. I never really met one, but I would never judge people because they don't have quirk. After all, we're not flawless either. Not that I consider not having a quirk a flaw to begin with." Ojiro followed. Izuku looked at his two friends. "No, real friends with a shocked expression plastered to his face. In all his life, he never thought that people who viewed quirkless people as humans too did exist in this society. Honestly, it was so hard for him not to cry here and then. For the first time in his life, someone didn't consider him or consider what he was 2 months ago, a freak or useless and worthless. "Thank you," Izuku murmured to himself. "What was that?" both teens asked. "I said you guys are right. Quirkless or not, I think they're humans too," Izuku pointed out. "And I think that it's okay for them to have friends," he said in his mind. For the next month, Izuku and Ojiro kept sparring and getting stronger together, with Itsuka visiting from time to time. At first, Ojiro had the advantage in most of their matches, but Izuku just kept on improving until he became as strong as Ojiro. In fact, he won their last sparring match after an intense battle that even Daisuke was content with. When it was time for Izuku to go to the next dojo, both Ojiro and Izuku were sad. Especially Izuku, cause Ojiro was Izuku's first real friend, along with Itsuka too. He never had such a bond like this, and he thought that he was unfortunate to having to leave this dojo, along with Daisuke, Ojiro, and Itsuka behind. However, he knew that he had to become stronger to pass the UA entrance exam. No, as All Might's successor, he had to take his mantle and become the next symbol of peace. "Do you really have to go, Midoriya?" Ojiro asked, to which Midoriya nodded. "I'm sorry, Ojiro, but I have a goal to achieve, and I can't stop. Not after what the people who support me did for me. I have to train harder to become the #1 applicant in UA." "Wait, you're going to UA too?" Ojiro shouted in shock. He didn't think that Izuku was also applying to UA. "Yes, I want to become a great hero, one who will be able to save everyone with a smile, just like All Might. Going to UA is the first step of my dream coming true," Izuku said with a smile. "That's a great dream to achieve there, as expected of someone like you, Midoriya. You definitely have the spirit of youth. I want to go to UA to become a hero who'll save people too. But I also want to hone my fighting skills so that later on I can open my own dojo to train the next generation of heroes, like Kendo-sensei." "That's a pretty nice dream too. You really do admire him. I guess we'll meet again in 7 months." Izuku replied as he thought that Ojiro had quite a noble dream. "Here, this is my number so that we can call each other," Ojiro said, as he gave Izuku his number. Both teens just realized how their small group never got each other's numbers until now. They laughed at it, but Izuku was a bit sad he didn't get Itsuka's phone number. He really wanted to keep in touch with her. "Train well, and let's both of us get stronger and go to UA," Izuku said with determination, as he held his fist. "Right back at you. From now on, you're my rival Midoriya, so let's push each other to the top," Ojiro replied before he returned the fist bump. After their declaration, the two sparring partners parted ways. Izuku waved goodbye at Ojiro, while the latter was determined to avoid falling behind his rival and surpassing him. Meanwhile, a certain orange-haired girl was smiling as she heard the whole conversation. "He's going to UA, you know. Don't you want to tell him that you're planning on going too?" Daisuke asked. "No, right now I don't stand a chance against him or Ojiro, so I want to train first and surprise him by going there. I want to show him that I have what it takes to go to UA too. Then we could have our rematch in the sports festival," Itsuka replied. "And then you can tell him that you like him and confess your feelings," Daisuke said with a smirk. "WWH what? No, I barely know him, Grandpa," Itsuka shot back with a blush, as she pouted at her grandfather. "You barely come to my dojo, yet this month you came more than 10 times to spar with him and talk with him. You even went out a few times with him and Ojiro. Did you think that this old man wouldn't notice?" Daisuke rhetorically asked while laughing and ignoring whatever Itsuka was telling him at the moment. "Izuku Midoriya, this kid is definitely going places," Daisuke thought with a smile on his face. "The Taekwondo dojo. Izuku Midoriya, I have been waiting for you," an old man said with enthusiasm. The said man was tall and had brown and gray hair, which was natural considering his age. However, his eyes were a pretty rare color as they appeared to be yellow. "You know my name?" Izuku asked, surprised by the fact that this man knew his name. "Yes, my friend Daisuke told me a lot about you. I'm Hayato Mori, and for the next 3 months, I'm going to teach you all I know about Taekwondo. Thank you very much, Mori-sensei. Izuku looked at Mori. Sure, he was a bit old, but his age could be easily hidden by his energetic attitude. He was surely the most passionate person Izuku met besides All Might and Daisuke. He was also surprised that Mori and Daisuke knew each other. It's a small world, he thought, and shrugged it off. Now come and attack me. Excuse me, sensei. Did you just ask me to attack you? Yes, now come. There are no countdowns in real battles. Izuku then rushed at Mori trying to land a punch, but Mori was able to easily dodge it by moving his head slightly. That's not good, you need to be more flexible, Midoriya. Izuku proceeded to try to land a roundhouse kick, but Mori dodged it by ducking under the kick. Your strikes have to be sharper like this, Mori said as he spun in the air and kicked Midoriya's side, which made Izuku fall on the ground. Also, from now on, you'll have to use your legs. You can only use your hands when sparring against me to make it fair. Other than that, you're mainly using your legs, Mori pointed out. Yes, Mori-sensei, Izuku replied, determined to learn Taekwondo under this man and get even stronger. That's the spirit. 3 months later, Izuku learned Taekwondo with relative ease thanks to his Sharingan and his new physical shape. Mori even helped Izuku develop his own signature attack. Not only that, but he was also able to help Izuku with his low self-esteem and lack of confidence, as Daisuke told him about it. He always told the boy how these things could dearly cost any hero. After all, how's the public supposed to feel safe when their hero has no confidence in himself whatsoever? Something that Izuku immediately cast away. If something like this didn't fit the image of a normal pro hero, then All Might's successor shouldn't even think about it. Mori-sensei was a strict teacher, and sparring with him proved to be a really hard task, as Izuku was never able to beat him no matter how hard he tried. However, now was the time for Izuku to go to the final dojo. Speaking of his physical shape, Izuku was now standing at 5.7 feet, 1.70 meters, with 6 packs and an overall muscular body. Of course, All Might made sure that Izuku doesn't become bulky by all means, so that he could maintain a good level of both agility and flexibility. Izuku was also able to use his Sharingan to scan his muscles and check if he was overworking himself, as All Might warned him about overworking too. All in all, Izuku became a very different person, both mentally and physically. Midoriya, Mori called for Izuku. Yes, Mori-sensei, Izuku replied. Midoriya, my boy, I have nothing left to teach you. From now on, you have to hone your skills, as you'll face many opponents. So, remember, always keep your spirits high, Mori said as Izuku got ready to leave. Just know that if you ever want to train here again, my dojo will always be open for you. Thank you very much, Mori-sensei. I'll never forget your offer and your teachings. Goodbye, Midoriya. I know you'll get into UA and become the greatest hero. Dagoba Beach. Izuku was running early on the sand while lifting All Might in his muscle form, which was no small feat, considering the man weighed 562.2 pounds. You've improved so much during the past few months, young Midoriya. It's only a matter of time now before you're ready to inherit one for all Might said with his usual smile. It is all thanks to you and my sensei's All Might, but I still have a long way to go, Izuku replied while trying to focus on his breathing. That's true, you're supposed to go to the Weapon Arts dojo today, right? Did you find a good dojo? All Might asked. Yes, Mori-sensei suggested one. He said it was the best, Izuku replied. These are good news. How about your Sharingan? Any improvements? All Might questioned, as he got off Izuku, who was now doing sit-ups. Yeah, I've increased my time limit and I'm much better at using it now. Honestly, it's much easier now to use it, although there's no sign for any awakening yet, Izuku replied, a bit upset that his quirk didn't see any improvements even after 6 months. It's alright, young Midoriya. I'm sure you'll be able to get the hang of it in no time, All Might replied. Right. Now do 150 push-ups and start moving these cars. After that, it'll be the end of your training for today, All Might exclaimed. Yes, sir, Izuku replied. After their training session, Izuku and All Might, in his skinny form, sat on a bench after All Might bought ice creams for the two of them. It was a sunny day, and they needed something to make them endure the heat. "Are you excited to go to UA?" All Might asked. "Yeah, it's been my dream since I was a little kid. I always dreamt about going to UA and becoming a hero who would save everyone with a smile. Just like you," Izuku replied. "I'm happy that you're on the track of realizing your dream, and I'm glad that I was your source of inspiration," All Might said. "Thanks. My mom is also more supportive, now that I have my own quirk," Izuku exclaimed. "Young Midoriya, you always mention your mother in conversations, but you never mention your father. May I ask why?" All Might said as he handed Izuku his ice cream. "Oh, it's just that my father works overseas to provide us the money my mother and I need, so I don't remember him at all. To be honest, All Might, I'm glad I met you because with you, I was finally able to see what it's like to have a father," Izuku said with a blush as he ate his ice cream. All Might was just shocked at the revelation and didn't know how to respond. There was a moment of silence before Izuku spoke again. "I'm sorry, All Might, that was actually awkward. Just dash. Young Midoriya, no Izuku. I also think of you as the son I never had," All Might exclaimed with a smile. Izuku was so touched by this. He felt like he was blessed, and he just couldn't believe how much his life has changed in the past few months. He was really glad that he ever met All Might. The #1 hero was always the light in his quirkless and sad life. He was always his last hope, and he's glad that he didn't let go of said hope. "Thank you," Izuku murmured. The Weapon Arts Dojo. "This is it. This is finally the last dojo," Izuku said as he was now in front of the dojo. "Mori-sensei recommended that one, so I'm sure I'll be able to learn a lot from here." Izuku entered the dojo, where he found a gentle old man waiting for him. That said man had an average height, gray hair, and his eyes' color were black. It also seems like he had some scars on his arms and hands. "Hello, I'm Izuku Midoriya and I came here to train and learn how to fight with a staff. Are you perhaps Kurogane-sensei? I closed my dojo a long time ago, but when I heard about you from my friends and how highly they spoke of you, I decided to take on one final student. I'm Sakanji Kurogane, and I'll be your sensei for the next 3 months, Izuku Midoriya," Kurogane said as he threw a wooden staff to Izuku. "I'll teach you how to fight with a staff and many other weapons too. I have to warn you though, my training is strict, and you might wish to quit, however, I have high expectations for you." "I will do my best, Kurogane-sensei," Izuku replied as he held the staff. "Then let's start right now, Midoriya." 2 months later. Izuku was wearing a blindfold, holding the staff as he had to block Kurogane's attack. "You need to concentrate more," Kurogane said as he hit Izuku on his head with his staff. "Ouch, but it's really hard. How can I hit you when I can't see you, Kurogane-sensei? You have to rely on your other senses. You must feel the surrounding wind, clear your head, and concentrate." Izuku tried his best to concentrate, only to receive another smack on his head. Again. "Yes, Kurogane-sensei. Ouch," Izuku replied but got smacked again. "Concentrate on your breathing. By controlling your breaths, you'll be able to concentrate more," Kurogane explained. "Yes, Kurogane-sensei," Izuku replied, but was smacked on his head once again. "That's the end of today's training. We're going to the forest by the mountains next week. We need to change your training environment and also increase the level of your training," Kurogane exclaimed. "And here I thought that Mori-sensei's training was the hardest," Izuku thought with a sweat drop before replying. "All right, I'll make sure to ask my parents first before accepting," Izuku replied. "Yes, you should do that," Kurogane said, agreeing with the boy. The next week came by rather quickly. Izuku asked his mom and All Might if he could go, and luckily for him, they both gave him the yes. He prepared his bag and went to Kurogane's dojo. "Are you all packed up and ready for our trip?" the older man asked. "Yes, sir," Izuku replied. "Then let's head to our training site." "All right, I'll order a taxi. Just give me a minute." "No, we'll walk to our destination. Come on, let's go. Your training has already started," Kurogane said as he started to walk, carrying his bag. Izuku, however, fell comically at the revelation. Don't slack off now from the start. Yes, Kurigane-sensei. Izuku replied as tears were coming out of his eyes. Something told him he won't make it out of this trip alive. After a few, some hours of walking, Izuku and Kurigane finally arrived at their destination. The place had a nice hut by a river. Around the hut were many beautiful trees, and if you looked behind the hut and the trees you could see a cliff with a waterfall that led to the river. Sure enough, Izuku was tired, but he couldn't help but look around at the beauty of this place. This place is so beautiful, Izuku simply said as he kept looking around. For the next 2 weeks, you're going to train here. You can rest for today and look around. Just don't go deep in the forest, or you might get lost, Kurigane said. All right, sensei, Izuku said as he went to put his bag in the hut. Dinner is at 6 and you better sleep early. We're starting early in the morning, Kurigane pointed out. All right, I'll go and have a look around. See you later. The next day, Izuku woke up early and found Kurigane waiting for him with his katana outside. He seemed to be exercising while doing some breathing control exercises. Good morning, Midoriya. I hope you slept well last night, the older man said, to which Izuku nodded. Good, now come with me, he said as he motioned to Izuku to follow him. Izuku followed him as they were climbing a mountain, partway though, as Izuku was struggling to breathe, a little, but then Kurigane stopped. You must go back to the hut by dawn, Kurigane simply stated as he vanished in the fog. And Nanny? Izuku yelled in panic. He was quite shocked by the current events. So all this time I was training with a ghost. Scary, he added as he was shivering at the thought that his sensei was a ghost. Man, this can't be real. It's so hard to breathe and my vision is narrowed because of the fog, Izuku said until he realized something and face-bombed. I could use my Sharingan, how could I have forgotten about it? Damn, I'm so dumb, he said as he activated his Sharingan. He started making his way down the mountain, but suddenly saw a log coming towards him, which he managed to barely avoid. What is this? He said in confusion, before getting hit in his face by some pebbles. Ow! Ow! I see, so that's how it's going. Then I'll make it down as fast as I can, and I'll dodge everything with my Sharingan, Izuku said as he started to run. On his way down, he discovered that he had to evade more traps than he thought. He almost got hit by knives, which made him scream in panic. Luckily, though, he was able to catch the one that almost stabbed him. He had to admit he would have never thought that his training would go this way. This went on for an hour until he came back. Sensei, I made it back, Izuku said as he was trying to catch his breath. You cheated. You used your quirk, didn't you? Kurigane questioned the younger boy. How did you dash? Izuku was going to ask about how he knew about his quirk but figured out that Mori probably told him. Was I not allowed to do that? Izuku changed his question. Yes. Using your quirk defeats the purpose of this training, Kurigane replied. You have to be kidding me, sensei. I barely made it out alive using my quirk, Izuku exclaimed. I figured out that you'd use your quirk, so I made things harder for you. But what if I didn't use my quirk and that knife hit me? Izuku asked as he questioned his sensei's sanity. Was he a psychopath who wanted to kill him or something? The knives are made out of plastics. They're not even sharp, the man simply replied. Izuku was relieved that his sensei wasn't at least a psychopath who wanted to kill him, but he didn't let the ghost part get out of his head until the man spoke again. Now go back there and redo the exercise, this time without your quirk, the man said as Izuku fell on his back. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't make it out alive, Izuku simply said as tears poured from his eyes. Cut the slack and get going. My advice is that you should concentrate on your breathing, focus and feel the air around you, and use other senses than your vision. I know that your quirk enhances your vision, but what would happen if you're in a circumstance where you can't use your eyes? The old man said. I see, so this exercise's purpose is to cover for my weakness, Izuku said as he could only agree with his sensei. He then got up and went back to the mountain. Midoriya, I know that this training might be too much on you, but if you're going to be the greatest hero, the next symbol of peace, then you should become a strong hero capable of protecting others and himself. All right, let's do this again, Izuku said as he was making his way down, this time without his Sharingan. And once again the fog was thick as hell. However, it wasn't long before Izuku fell into a hole. Ow, oh damn, I hurt my arm, he said as he got up, and after a few steps he got smacked by a log, then tackled by a rope and fell on the ground. Did I really just get smacked by a log? A freaking log, he shouted in shock. What kind of training was this man putting him through? This is not good. Remember Izuku? Concentrate, breath, and use your other senses, he said to himself as he tried to focus on his other senses and his breath. There, he said as he dodged some pebbles. I did it. I was finally able to do it, he cheered as he started to make his way down the mountain, dodging the traps. Days went by, and each day, Kurigane's training intensity level would go further and further. At noon, he would make Izuku go and meditate under the waterfall while doing breathing exercises, and in the evening, he would make Izuku climb the cliff. Every day he had Izuku doing more and more things, increasing the difficulty. He even made Izuku carry a heavy katana on his back now, while Izuku would adapt and do his best. And then soon enough it was replaced by a basket filled with heavy rocks. Yes, before Izuku would properly hold a weapon, he would forge him into a weapon. And so, it was only a matter of time before Izuku's training ended. 1 month later, Izuku was wearing the blindfold, sitting on the wooden floor, outside. There was a sound of dripping water, but Izuku was concentrating and properly breathing. And suddenly, Kurigane tried to smack Izuku's head with the wooden staff, only for Izuku to block the attack with his staff, which made the older man smile. Good job, Midoriya, you managed to finish my training. You didn't only master how to use the staff, but you learned how to use many other weapons too. You've grown in many ways since you started your journey. On behalf of Daisuke and Mori, we are proud of you, and I'm sure you'll get into UA. However, never forget that true power comes from protecting others. I won't forget, Kurigane-sensei, and thank you for your training, Izuku said, as he stood up and bowed to his sensei, before leaving the dojo. And just like that, Izuku finally completed his training under the 3 dojos, but he still had one more task, a beach to clean. The next day, young Midoriya, I see you completed your training under the 3 dojos. You've come a long way, but don't relax now, cause there's only 1 month left until the UA entrance exam, All Might said. Yes, sir. All Might, I wanted to ask something. Can I return to the Muay Thai dojo? My skills at Taekwondo and using weapons are above average by a good level. But my Muay Thai skills are not strong enough. I didn't get to copy many techniques back then because my body was weak. I know that the aim to pass American Dream doesn't include this idea so that I can focus on cleaning the beach and not overworking myself, but I feel that I need it. All Might paused for a second before replying. Very well, but you'll only have 2 weeks. I can't give you more than that. All Might knew well that Izuku would be able to clear the beach in no time. The boy was so much stronger now, and the training he underwent in the dojos definitely contributed to that. In his mind, he did not doubt that Izuku would be able to pass UA's entrance exam even without one for all. Thank you, All Might, Izuku replied. He couldn't help but feel happy, now that he had the chance to meet Ojiro and Itsuka again. Later that night, Izuku was training in his room, lifting some weights and working on his biceps. Once he completed the set, he grabbed his phone and called Ojiro. Hello Ojiro, it's me Izuku. Midoriya, how have you been? How's your training? Pretty good so far. I'm actually going back to Kendo-sensei's dojo to work on my Muay Thai. That's great. It would be a good opportunity to spar with each other before the exams. Yeah. How's Itsuka, by the way? She came a couple of times since you left to spar with me, but she's been absent for like 4 months now. Kendo-sensei said that she's training for some big event she had. Man, I wish I got her number to wish her good luck at least. Yeah, as well as flirting with her. What no. And no, Itsuka is just a friend, Izuku said as he blushed. Haha, I'm just messing with you. Anyway, see you tomorrow. And don't forget to prepare yourself for an exciting sparring match. We need to show Kendo-sensei the spirit of youth, Ojiro said, before ending the call, and Izuku couldn't help but laugh at his friend's antics. He really was becoming more and more like Daisuke. The next day Izuku went back to the dojo and was happy that Ojiro was the strongest disciple now, and Ojiro was happy that Izuku came back. He was content when Izuku called him. He wanted to spar against him and see how much he got better. For the next 2 weeks, the two of them proceeded to spar. Ojiro had the upper hand as he practiced his Muay Thai techniques for the last 6 months, so he had more experience, while Izuku had to learn 3 different fighting styles. He couldn't use Taekwondo in a Muay Thai dojo, as it would be disrespectful to Daisuke. But like always with each day, Izuku got stronger and stronger. In fact, he became the second strongest after those 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the exam. Kendo-sensei, please allow Izuku to use his Taekwondo techniques. I want to fight him when he's at his full power to test myself, Ojiro asked as he bowed in respect to his sensei. Very well, I'll allow it. I understand your drive as I have once been in your place, Daisuke said. Let's see, how much stronger did you get in the last 6 months, Izuku Midoriya? Are you ready, Ojiro? 'Cause today I'll be going all out, Izuku stated. Ready as you are. Today we will see who's the strongest between us. Now both of you, let the power of youth explode, Daisuke shouted with enthusiasm, and Izuku could have sworn he saw the older man's pupils turning into fire. Ojiro rushed at Izuku trying to land a punch, but Izuku was swift on his feet and blocked his punch with his right leg, much to Ojiro and Daisuke's surprise. He's moving exactly like Mori, Daisuke thought. Izuku then spun in the air and kicked Ojiro in his side, but Ojiro quickly blocked it with his hand. The two of them smirked, before starting to hit each other with multiple punches and kicks until Ojiro landed an uppercut. Ojiro then decided to seize this opportunity and prepared to land his new combo. Muay Thai first stance, White Tiger, Ojiro shouted as he punched Izuku in his chest. Muay Thai second stance, Black Snake, Ojiro said as he kicked Izuku in his ribs. Muay Thai third stance, Yellow Dragon, Ojiro finally yelled as he jumped and punched Izuku with a strong fist in his face, which made Izuku fall on the ground. For a moment, there was silence as neither Daisuke nor Ojiro knew if Izuku was out for the count or not. However, they got their answer once Izuku began moving again. Izuku managed to stand up again with some effort and tried his best to ignore the pain he was feeling. He had to admit, he wasn't expecting this kind of special move from Ojiro. That special move was really astonishing, Ojiro. I thought I was done for when you landed that last punch, Izuku said while panting. You really got stronger, Midoriya, but it seems like I have the upper hand here, Ojiro pointed out as he was smirking and panting as well. I have to admit you've really improved during the past 6 months, but you're also underestimating me, Izuku replied. Ojiro then rushed with a roundhouse kick that Izuku just dodged by ducking beneath his leg. Flexible and sharp attacks, just like Mori-sensei taught me, Izuku thought before elbowing Ojiro in his chest. This is the end, Ojiro, Izuku shouted as he took a different stance. Triple kick, Izuku yelled as performed his new finisher. He basically starts with a jump, then kicks his opponent's side at super speed, followed by a kick to his opponent's head, stunning them as he's going up, and finally before landing on his feet, a super kick to the chest, making them fly a couple of meters. And just like that, Ojiro was knocked away, unable to fight or even stand anymore. The match has been decided. Good job, you two. Both of you definitely improved so much during those 10 months. Ojiro, you won something too. This was a good experience for you, as you fought against a different fighting style, Daisuke said as he applauded both of them. Midoriya, you really became much stronger. That last attack really hurts, Ojiro exclaimed, praising his friend. You too, Ojiro. I was surprised by your performance without using your tail. You showed me today the result of your hard work, and I'm sure we'll both make it to UA. 2 weeks later. Hey. All Might had just arrived at the Dagoba beach when he heard this mighty roar. He immediately rushed to see Izuku, shirtless and yelling a battle cry, which pumped him to go into his muscle form. Oh my goodness, he really did it. He cleaned the whole beach in 10 months. I can't believe this, you really did it, young man. All Might cheered, as he stared at Izuku in amazement. Izuku then started to fall, but All Might was able to catch him before he hits the ground. All Might, I did it. I cleaned the whole beach, Izuku said with a tired voice, while All Might helped him to stand on his feet. Young Midoriya, congratulations. You finally finished your training, and you're now ready to inherit One for All Might said with a smile. Tears began forming in Izuku's eyes before he said, I feel like I have been blessed. No, young Midoriya, this is the result of your harsh training. There's a great difference between people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and people like you who had nothing but work there but to achieve their goal. And today, my boy, is your graduation ceremony. All Might said, looking at Izuku, who was happy and smiling. He then showed Izuku his picture of himself when they first met and how frail and weak he was, showing how far he has come. Young Midoriya, you are worthy of my power. When I first met you, you had the heart of a true hero, but now you'll have the power of a true hero, All Might proudly said before he snatched a piece of his hair. Now eat this. Izuku had now a shocking expression plastered on his face and said only one word, eh. Chapter 4. The True Meaning of a Hero. Eat this. Eh? To inherit One for All, you have to ingest my DNA. And well, this is the least disgusting way I could think of for you to ingest my DNA, All Might said, clearly trying his best not to laugh. He has been looking forward to this moment ever since he started looking for a successor. Izuku looked nervously and disgusted at the piece of hair before taking it and swallowing it. He then started to cough when he felt it in his throat and had to drink an entire water bottle, before sitting down and letting out a sigh. So, do I have One for All now? Izuku asked, clearly still disgusted by the fact he just ate a piece of hair. Not yet, young Midoriya, it should take around 2 to 3 hours for your body to digest it. Once it's done, you'll have One for All. I see, then I won't be able to test it until the exam. Could you tell me how to use it? Izuku questioned. He was wondering how to use his new quirk. All Might then explained to Izuku how to use One for All, and warned him about the backlashes of using One for All for the first time, especially since Izuku was a vessel that was quickly prepared as fast as possible. It was a shame that they couldn't even take it for a test drive, so Izuku has to work with what he already has. Izuku then went back to his house, took a shower, ate his breakfast, and changed his clothes before setting off to UA. Izuku Midoriya was now standing in front of UA High School, looking different from the first time he came here. He was now standing tall at 5.9 feet, with a body that will make even a professional swimmer jealous. His muscles refined and his face was no longer the face of the child he was a year ago, but the face of a determined young man. He had the body for the perfect balance between strength and agility. Get the fuck out of my way, you damn nerd, Bakugo growled as he walked towards the building. Izuku only sighed and stepped away. It's true that he was a lot more confident than last year and was no longer afraid of Bakugo, but this doesn't mean that Izuku was still nervous about Bakugo's violent attitude and preferred to keep his distance from the explosion boy. He didn't really want to deal with him right now. He just wanted to focus on his exam and not deal with any trouble. Some things just never change, huh, Kaken? Izuku said in his mind. But I'm not the frail boy I once was. I have to remember all the hard work I have put in my training, and all the things All Might did for me, not to mention that I am now his successor. Izuku thought as he began to walk, but then he accidentally tripped on his own feet. This is it. Izuku closed his eyes and waited to feel the pain coming from his face hitting the pavement, but for some reason, it never came. Confused by this, he opened his eyes only to see that he was floating off of the ground. Are you okay? Izuku heard a sweet and high-pitched voice beside him. He tried to look at the person who owned this voice, but he was stuck in midair, moving his arms as he tried to regain his balance. She then grabbed his arm and pulled him, before he felt the gravity returning to his body again. I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask you first, but I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you. I think it would have been bad luck if you had fallen. Izuku just kept looking at the girl with a blush on his cheeks. She was a medium-weighted girl with big round brown eyes, shoulder-length brown hair, and fair skin. She also had 2 permanent pink blush marks on each cheek. Aren't you nervous? She asked. Izuku then began stuttering until the girl interrupted him. Let's do our best today. See ya, she said before heading to the building. I talked to a girl for a second time, Izuku thought with a blush on his cheeks. It didn't matter if Izuku got a major confidence boost from his intense training. He was still shy with girls, especially if the girl in front of him was as cute as the one he just saw. Izuku then felt a hand grabbing his shoulder, so he turned around and saw Ojiro. "Hey Ojiro, are you ready for the entrance exam?" Izuku asked his friend. "Ready as you are. And just so you know, I don't intend to fall behind you," the other teen replied, determined to do his best. "Well, you have to do your best because I'm aiming. No, a lot of people here are aiming to be the #1 applicant to UA." Izuku exclaimed as he thought about Bakugo. He respected the explosive teen's drive. The two rivals then walked to the building together, each one of them telling the other about his training journey until they split up. UA Hero Course Entrance Exam Orientation. The written exam was easy. Izuku was confident that he achieved fantastic results. All those years spent on My Hero journals weren't for nothing, Izuku thought. Moreover, during his 10 months of training, Izuku made sure to focus on his studies as well when he wasn't training. After All Might always told him that a pro hero should be both strong and smart. "I guess being a nerd and fanboy helped me out in the long run," Izuku muttered to himself as he found his assigned seat in the auditorium. He saw that the person adjacent to his right was none other than Bakugo. Izuku concluded that it must be because they were from the same middle school. "Great, just what I needed," he sarcastically thought. As the last few people entered, the lights turned out, and out in center stage was none other than the voice hero, Present Mike. Present Mike is a tall, slender man with long, spiky blonde hair and a small mustache. He wears a pair of headphones with the word "Hage" written on the headband and a pair of sunglasses. He is almost always seen with a large smile on his face. Present Mike's hero costume consists of a black jacket with an upturned collar complete with studs. He sports a tan, studded shoulder pads, black pants with a red studded belt, black boots, black fingerless gloves, and a directional speaker completely covers his neck. "What's up, UA candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. Come on and let me hear ya," Present Mike shouted to only receive silence as a response. "Keeping it mellow, huh? That's fine, I'll skip straight to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam is gonna go down, okay? Are you ready?" Once again, he was met by silence. "Oh my goodness. It's the voice hero Present Mike. So cool. I listen to his radio show every day of the week. It's so crazy that all the UA teachers are pro heroes," Izuku exclaimed in excitement, being a fanboy as usual. "Shut up," Bakugo growled in annoyance. Knowing Izuku as well as he does, this pretty much is an everyday occurrence. Seriously, could he stop fanboying for 5 minutes? Like your application says, today you rocking boys and girls will be out there conducting 10 minutes mock battles in super hip urban settings. After I drop the mic here, you'll head to your specified battle center. Sounds good. For the third consecutive time, Present Mike was met with silence. "I see. They're splitting us up so that we can't work with any of our friends," Bakugo said as Izuku looked at his and Bakugo's cards to see that they were, in fact, assigned to different battle centers. Izuku's card says Battle Center B, while Bakugo's card read Battle Center A. "Yeah, you're right. Our examinee numbers are one after the other, but we are assigned a different battle center," Izuku replied as he took a peek at Bakugo's card. "Get your eyes off my card. Damn. I was really looking forward to crushing you." Izuku just smiled and shrugged. "Of course you were. Why would I expect anything less from you? Just try to keep up with me and don't fall behind. Could you?" Izuku clenched his hands as he murmured that last part. He managed to grab Bakugo's attention, but in a bad way. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock. Did Deku just talk back to him? Fucking pathetic Deku? His expression was soon replaced with anger. "What the fuck? Do you think you're better than me or something, Deku? Do you think that a quirkless freak like you will really pass the entrance exam? Huh?" Bakugo angrily said, and his voice was getting a bit louder. "Why did I have to open my mouth now? I wanted to avoid him today just for this reason. I'm such an idiot, but I'm also tired of him belittling me like that." Izuku mentally thought and let out an exasperated sigh. Are you ignoring me, Deku? Are you looking down on me? Bakugo kept going. There was no stopping him now. Okay, let's check out your targets. There are 3 types of foe villains in every battle center. You'll earn points based on their level of difficulty, so you better choose wisely. The goal in this trial is to use your quirk to raise your score by immobilizing the foe villains. But attacking other examinees and any other unheroic actions are strictly prohibited. May I ask a question? One examinee asked. Okay. Present Mike pointed towards the examinee as a spotlight was put on him. On the printout, there are 4 types of villains. If that is a misprint, then UA, the most prominent school in Japan, should be ashamed of that foolish mistake. We, examinees, are here in this place because we wish to be molded into exemplary heroes. The person who said that is a tall and muscular young man. He has black hair and wears rectangular glasses, which go with his serious attitude. His eyes are also somewhat rectangular, as is his jaw. He turned around and pointed towards Izuku and Bakugo. In addition, you 2 over there, the ones with curly hair and spiky hair, you 2 have been muttering this whole time. It's distracting. If you're here on a pleasure trip, then you should leave immediately. Izuku then immediately covered his mouth in embarrassment. I'm sorry, he muttered, while every other examinee present began to chuckle and snicker. However, Bakugo wasn't going to do the same. Huh? Listen here, you 4 eyes extra. The one who's disturbing others here is you. If you can only lose the stick you got in your ass and listen carefully, you would understand that the final robot has another purpose. Bakugo shouted and everyone straight up began to laugh, causing Tenya's face to turn completely red in embarrassment. Izuku had to admit that he was relieved, now that the attention wasn't on him, especially Bakugo's attention. Okay, examinee number 7111. Thanks for the great message. The 4th type of villain is worth 0 points. That guy's an obstacle, so to speak. There's one in every battle center. It's an obstacle that will go crazy in narrow spaces. It's not impossible to defeat, but there's no reason to defeat it, either. I recommend that you listeners try to avoid it. Present Mike said, finishing his explanation of the 4th villain. Thank you very much. Please excuse the interruption, the serious kid said, before he sat back down, still embarrassed by what happened earlier. I see. It's like the obstacles you avoid in video games. Huh? A student questioned. The whole thing is like a video game, said another examinee in the auditorium as they all absorbed the information they just learned about the upcoming practical exam. That's all from me. Finally, I'll give you listeners a present our school motto. The hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "A true hero is someone who overcomes life's misfortunes. Go beyond, plus ultra. Now everyone, good luck suffering." Present Mike finished with an evil grin. UA High School Hero Course Entrance Exam Battle Center B. The bus arrived at the battle center, and Izuku was in awe. The setting for the practical exam is a giant mock city with many tall buildings and structures. It just shows how UA is the top hero course school in Japan. Being able to afford all of these building sites for an entrance exam is no easy task. Izuku stepped out of the bus wearing his green tracksuit. It's time to do it, to show the results of my training and giving it my all. I won't let All Might down by becoming the number 1 applicant. He mentally pumped himself. Izuku was a bit nervous though. He only got his Sharingan 10 months ago, and he didn't even get to test one for all, while the others had their quirk since they were kids. However, for some reason though, he was excited to show his power, to see how far he has come. He was going to give it his all. He then looked at the other examinees. They were all confident in their abilities and were focused and determined. He kept looking until he saw a familiar face. Oh, it's the girl I met at the school gates. She was assigned to the same battle center. The nice person. I have to thank her properly for earlier. Izuku thought as he began to walk towards her until he felt a hand on his shoulder. Izuku turned around to see that it was the same serious kid with glasses who called him and Bakugo out earlier for muttering. He's here too. That girl appears to be trying to focus. What are you doing? Are you taking the entrance exam to interfere with everyone else? That said boy said with a serious tone. Izuku immediately jumped back and began moving his arms in his defense. No, of course not. He quickly replied. embarrassing himself furthermore in front of everyone. I feel like the others think they lucked out because I'm here. Better concentrate on the exam now. Okay, start. Present Mike shouted. Everybody stood there confused as they failed to process what was going on. What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights. Run, run. The die has been cast. You know, come on. One of you already started his rampage, Present Mike announced. The examinees looked ahead, shocked to see Izuku already running ahead of them. If there's one thing that Izuku learned from the 3 dojos is that there are no countdowns in real fights. When did he? The boy with the serious attitude questioned with shock, before the other examinees started to run at full speed behind Izuku. Izuku immediately activated his Sharingan and found 3 one-pointers at the next left. He scouted their weak spots thanks to his Sharingan, another thing he learned from using his Sharingan during his training. He noted that some parts of the robots weren't covered in hard steel, probably to allow the robots to move without any hindrance. It seems like if I smash these parts hard enough, they'll get short-circuited and explode. Izuku then proceeded to use his taekwondo kicks, smashing their heads with his kicks, and destroying them easily. The commotion he just caused managed to grab the attention of a 2-pointer. Target found. Must eliminate, the robot said in a monotone voice. That must be a 2-pointer. Let's see if he could withstand this. The 2-pointer approached Izuku so fast with a right hook ready to be delivered any second now. Lowest round kick. Izuku ducked, dodging the right hook easily thanks to the Sharingan, then did a 180 roundhouse kick, knocking the 2-pointer off his feet. Izuku then stomped the robot's head, destroying it altogether. And that's 5 points for me, Izuku pointed out with a smirk on his face. Izuku then destroyed more robots before encountering a 3-pointer. This must be a 3-pointer. I bet he's tougher than the others. I'll have to finish this fast, Izuku said before he prepared to land one of his signature attacks. Triple kick. He kicked the robot in his side, then his head, and finally launched a powerful kick to his chest, knocking it a few meters and effectively destroying it. 8 minutes left, Present Mike yelled. I have about 15 points now. I need to do even better if I want to be the number 1 applicant. Izuku then looked at the 3-pointer that he just defeated and saw a piece of metal lying there in the debris of the robot. I can use this as a staff to get more points, Izuku thought as he grabbed the piece of metal and started to do a number on the robots. The judge's room. In this practical exam, the examinees have not been informed of the number of villains or their locations. They have a limited amount of time in a vast area. They have to draw the villains out from there. It was a dark room with many monitors showing each of the examinees and how they are conducting in the practical exam. The UA staff members were watching them through the monitors as they were assessing the performance of the examinees and how they decided to adapt to the conditions that were just previously stated. Information gathering ability to understand the situation before anyone else, one of the teachers said as the screen was focused on a big bulky examinee with what seemed to be tentacles on a rooftop using his arms to scan or look for something. Mobility that can be used in many different circumstances. Another monitor showed the serious guy with the glasses, using his speed to pick off enemies one by one. Discernment to be able to stay calm in any situation. A blonde French kid is shown shooting a laser from a device on his waist and decimating the faux villains with complete and utter confidence. And pure combat ability. A monitor screen showed Bakugo in a path of utter destruction as all around him are fallen robots with smoke all around them. He looked like he was constipating as he was maniacally laughing like a crazy psychopath who has been let out of his cage. Everything that came in his way, he destroyed it using his explosion quirk, which is an ability very suitable for this practical exam. These basic abilities needed to keep the peace in the streets are turned into points in this test. Doesn't this year's group look promising? A feminine voice said. One monitor showed Izuku, using the staff to pierce the head of a 3-pointer before kicking the staff, making it go further in until it got out from the other side of the robot's head. Izuku was not joking when he said that he's going to be the number 1 applicant. Well, we can't know for sure yet. Their true test is still to come, another staff member said as he pressed a large red button. Back with Izuku. And that should be more points for me, Izuku said, leaving the staff in the robot's head and running to face more robots. 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left, I guess I'll try using one for all now. All Might warned me about the backlashes of the first time using it, but I don't have a choice. I'll give it my all to win. Suddenly, the ground began to rumble as buildings around Izuku began to collapse. When the examinees saw a giant robot, they recognized him as the zero-pointer. "It's huge," Izuku nervously yelled. He was shocked by the size of the 25 meters robot. "That must be the zero-pointer. Isn't it a little too big?" he asked. Then the zero-pointer proceeded to throw a punch towards the ground, which caused a giant dust wave. When the dust wave settled, everyone ran for their lives, terrified by the zero-pointer. All Might then started to speak from the judge's room. "An overwhelming threat. How people act after they've seen this shows their true nature." The serious-looking guy who called out Izuku before ran past him with the rest of the examinees, while Izuku was frozen in his place and just looking nervously at the zero-pointer. That thing was the real deal. It wasn't like the other robots he just faced. Less than 2 minutes left. Less than 2 minutes? Izuku repeated in shock. "Damn it. I need to get more points." Izuku decided that it wasn't worth it. He can't defeat that thing. He was ready to run away and get out of here until... Ow! "Music, you say run." Izuku stopped and turned back around to see under a pile of debris the nice person who saved him at the front gates. She was trapped under the said pile. Her legs seemed to be stuck, and she couldn't get out. "I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask you first, but I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you. I think it would have been bad luck if you had fallen." Izuku remembered the words which this girl told him earlier and the kindness she showed him. "I didn't even thank her," he thought. He needed to do something, he had to do something, he had to save her. At that moment, something snapped inside Izuku as he began to run to face the zero-pointer head-on, completely forgetting how nervous he was earlier. He didn't have to think for a second between saving the girl or getting more points. There is absolutely no merit in taking on that faux villain, but that creates the opportunity for it to shine brightly. Izuku used the power of one for all in his legs as it coursed his veins, and jumped with all his might, going more than 20 meters up in the air. And rise to the surface. The staff members of UA widened their eyes as they saw what was transpiring in Battle Center B. They weren't expecting one of the examinees to face the zero-pointer head-on by himself. A skinny examiner wearing black clothes and a white scarf could be seen shocked, but his shock quickly changed into a smirk. While Izuku was floating in the air, going higher and higher, All Might's words on how to use one for all came to his mind. "Squeeze your buttocks. Squeeze your buttocks," he repeated. Unbeknown to Izuku, the other examinees stopped running away. Everyone was looking at him in awe as he demonstrated his power, including both the serious kid with glasses and the nice person. "And yell this inside your heart dash. And yell this inside your heart dash." The full power of one for all coursed through the veins in his arm. "Smash!" Izuku yelled as he smashed the zero-pointer in the face so hard. The robot's head flattened and many explosions erupted from its head before it fell on its back and was effectively immobilized. That's right. It rises to the surface, the most important qualification of a hero, the spirit of self-sacrifice. Izuku couldn't feel the pain of his broken arm and legs. He was so shocked by the power of one for all that his mind was still processing what just happened. He has one for All Might's quirk, the same power he just used to decimate the zero-pointer. This power was his now. It was so weird. Just a year ago he was quirkless and so weak. Never in his life did he imagine that he would get such power. But now things were different. 1 minute left. Present Mix's words managed to bring Izuku back to reality. Izuku screamed as he started to fall. Realizing that his arm and legs were broken, his mind finally started to process the pain. His only choice now was to use a Detroit smash, but that would mean breaking his other arm, and then he won't be able to get more points. What should I do? What should I do? He panicked as he remembered what All Might told him after giving him one for all. You have become a proper vessel, but it was one that was made in a hurry. Prepare yourself for the physical repercussions it'll have on your body. Oh yeah, I'm such an idiot. A mere 10 months was just enough time. I can barely hold this borrowed power. Think, what to do, what to do. Izuku tried to think of any solution to save himself. However, before he could touch the ground, he felt a slap to his face and then realized that he was floating off the ground. He looked and saw that the nice person used her quirk on him. She then proceeded to move her hands closer to each other before shouting "Release!" and vomiting while Izuku fell on the ground. "Stop!" Present Mike yelled, but no one seemed to hear him despite his loud voice. They were all just shocked at Izuku's power. I mean, he defeated the zero-pointer by himself after all. They did wonder though what kind of life he had that made him so jumpy, but they all agreed that he was amazing. "I wanted to get more points. I really wanted to be the best applicant for this year. But it's okay, I don't regret my actions," Izuku said with a sad face. He really wanted to make All Might proud of him. He wanted to live to his expectations. "Hey! Thank you for saving my life." Izuku thanked the nice person. She saved him twice today after all. "What are you saying? You're the one who saved my life, risking the remaining time you had and injuring yourself." Izuku just laughed, until Recovery Girl came to heal his injury. "Oh dear, you were hurt this much by your own quirk?" The reason she said this was because Izuku's arm and legs were bruised as they were a reddish-pink color with many cuts and pores open. She recognized Izuku immediately and was in awe at how much he changed. She could clearly see how hard he trained for the past 10 months. She then used her quirk and healed all of Izuku's injuries. Everyone was amazed at her quirk, while the serious kid with glasses was carefully thinking about the events that just happened before him. 1 week later, Izuku was looking at the fish with an emotionless expression. For the past week, he wasn't able to reach All Might on his phone and the latter didn't call him. He thought that maybe All Might gave up on him for not getting the #1 spot. "No, it can't be. Maybe he's just busy. Right?" he said in his mind. He was worried and thinking too much. Izuku, it's here. It came," Inko said while holding an envelope with a red stamp showing the UA symbol. After 5 minutes of waiting, Izuku opened it and a small metal device fell on his desk. A light projection showed up and revealed All Might himself in his muscle form. "I am here as a projection. All Might. Wait, this is from UA, right? What?" All Might was in a pink background wearing a yellow suit and blue tie. "I had to do some paperwork that took some time, so I couldn't contact you." All Might coughed and bowed. "I'm sorry. Actually, I came to this town to work at UA." "All Might is working at UA?" Izuku said in surprise. He never expected this kind of news. "HM? What is it?" Somebody was trying to talk to All Might behind the scenes, explaining to him that he had to wrap it up soon. "Wrap it up? But there is something I must talk to him about. Is going to push everything else back? All right, okay." Izuku swallowed in anticipation for what his mentor and idol was about to say next. "Congratulations, my boy. You got a perfect score on the written exam and 50 points on the practical exam. Of course, that means you passed with a great score." Izuku smirked when he heard the news, before saying, "Yeah, I already knew that All Might." Sure, he was sad for not being the #1 applicant, but at least he got in with a great score. But there was a secret component added to the test. Izuku raised his eyebrows, curious to what the #1 hero was talking about. "I'm an entertainer as well. First, take a look at this video." All Might clicked a button on a remote, and it showed a video. "Excuse me, the nice person?" Izuku said in shock as the video showed the girl that Izuku saved from the zero-pointer during the practical exam. She came to negotiate directly in person after the exam. Negotiate what? Keep watching to find out. All Might pressed play and resumed the video. The person with green curly hair and freckles. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's kind of tall and muscular." Izuku was surprised for a moment. "She's talking about me?" he exclaimed. "Is it possible for me to give him some of my points?" There was still time left, and he could have gotten more points if he wanted to. But instead, he came and saved me from the zero-pointer. I heard him saying that he wished he could have gotten more points. The girl explained the situation. She clearly felt guilty that Izuku wasn't able to get more points because of her. "What the hell can you do?" Izuku heard the voice of Bakugo in his head. "At least the points he lost because of me She pleaded. There was absolutely no reason for you to put yourself in danger. Izuku also began to hear the voice of Death Arms. He saved me, she desperately said to convince them. Izuku gasped as he stood up from his chair. He was utterly speechless. Please, please, please. All Might paused the video. In addition to now having a quirk, your actions spurred others to act. All Might turned and looked at the camera. The entrance exam the other day was not graded only on villain points. All Might then resumed the video. Even if you ask to, you cannot give him your points. Anyway, there's no reason to give him any female listener, Present Mike said as he patted her head. All Might paused the video and gave Izuku his full attention. How can a hero course reject people who save others and do the right thing? Call that lip service? Bring it on. This is a job that requires risking one's life to put that lip service into practice. Rescue points, and they're given by a panel of judges. It's the other basic ability we at UA look at. A scoreboard showed up displaying all the examinees' scores from top to bottom, and Izuku saw his name at the number 1 spot. Izuku Midoriya, 60 rescue points. It then showed the number 4 spot, and Achiko Uraraka, 45 rescue points. You both pass, and 50 villain points and 60 rescue points make a total of 110 points. You, Izuku Midoriya, have scored one of the highest amounts of points of all time in the UA practical exam. And you're also one of the 4 people to ever score over 100 points, including myself, the number 2 hero, Endeavor, and the number 4 hero, Best Jeanist. Izuku's eyes began to water as tears were threatening to spill out. This is too crazy. It's unreal. I must be dreaming. Why am I so blessed? All Might opened his hand towards the camera. Come, young Midoriya. This is your hero academia. Izuku wiped the tears out of his eyes as he could barely control his tears of joy from exploding. Yes, sir. He was filled with many emotions, and no matter how hard he tried, the tears just kept coming. Izuku did it. He finally took the first step towards his dream. Many people told him that it was impossible, laughed at him, mocked him. But he proved them all wrong. He proved that he can become a hero too. However, this is only the beginning of Izuku's journey as Chapter 5, The Aftermath. The video projection has just ended and the small metal device turned off. Izuku was so happy. He was as happy as when All Might told him that he can become a hero, maybe even more. He just discovered that he finally took the first step to achieve his dream of becoming a hero. On top of that, he managed to achieve his goal of becoming the number 1 applicant in UA. He made All Might proud. He quickly wiped his tears that didn't dry yet and grabbed his pen and one of his notebooks. Izuku then wrote something and quickly closed his book before putting it away. Now was the time to tell his mother the good news. Mom, I did it. I got accepted to UA. I even got first place in the practical exam. Izuku cheered as he burst out of his room. He wasn't surprised to see his mother still outside his room. Hearing this, Inko immediately pulled her son in a tight hug. Izuku, sweetie, I'm so proud of you. You did it, you got into your dream high school. I'm so happy for you, Inko said with tears of joy running down her cheeks. She had to admit, she still regretted the day when she couldn't tell Izuku that he could become a hero. After all, she couldn't let Izuku risk his life fighting villains without a quirk. He's her one and only child. But when Izuku came back from the sludge villain incident and told her that his quirk finally appeared, she was so happy, even though she was surprised because her quirk is telekinesis and his father's quirk is fire breath. So it didn't make sense for her son to get an ocular quirk. She was so happy for him. It didn't matter as long as Izuku had a chance to achieve his dream of becoming a hero. After all these years, and after all they both went through, she was finally relieved that her son's eyes were no longer empty, but filled with the fire that was once there when Izuku was a kid. Mom, you're crushing me. I can't breathe, Izuku said, having a hard time breathing from his mother's bear hug. Oh right, I'm sorry dear. We should celebrate your achievement, so I'll make you some katsudon for dinner, his mother said as she brought her hands together and gave Izuku a warm smile. Yes, my favorite dish. Thanks, Mom, he cheered. Today was definitely one of the best days in his life. Izuku. His mother called him, grabbing his attention. "You're so cool," she pointed out. She was so proud of her son, who never gave up despite what he went through. He never gave up despite many people telling him he won't make it. Izuku never gave up despite no one believing in him, including herself. She had a feeling that never giving up is a trait that will stick with him forever, even as a hero. Inko then went to the kitchen to prepare the meal, her smile still on her face, while Izuku went back to his room and grabbed his phone to call his best friend, Ojiro. "Hey Ojiro," Izuku called with visible excitement in his voice. "Midoriya, congratulations. You did it. You made it to the first place." Ojiro congratulated his friend and rival. How did you know?" Izuku asked, wondering how Ojiro knows about his rank. Ojiro just chuckled. Knowing his friend, any other information that came in after hearing that he achieved his goal wasn't entirely processed by his brain. "The leaderboards, they showed it to us in the video projection and I managed to see who got the first place." "All right. I forgot about that," Izuku said as he rubbed the back of his head and smiled sheepishly. "What about you? How did you do?" Izuku questioned. "Well, I did manage to pass the written portion of the exam and I secured the 10th spot in the practical," Ojiro exclaimed. Izuku felt a bit sad for his friend. Knowing Ojiro, he might be a bit upset over the fact that the gap between them is that big. The two teens declared their rivalry half a year ago, and he was worried that it might come to an end soon. No, he hated this whole idea and couldn't stand it. After all, Ojiro is a worthy rival who pushed Izuku to better himself during their training together. However, is that still possible now that he possesses the power of one for all of All Might himself? "Hey, no need to worry about me," Ojiro said with a calm voice. "Huh. You know, I think I never told you about my real dream, haven't I?" "Your real dream?" Izuku questioned. He thought that Ojiro's dream was to become a hero who will save people. Is it actually something different? "Well, it's not that it's another dream, but I like to consider it a life goal, my objective." Ojiro began before he took his breath. "I want to show the world that even if you don't have a flashy quirk, even if you don't have any talent, that with enough hard work, you could still become a splendid hero," Ojiro said from the other end of the phone, but Izuku was able to easily feel Ojiro's determination. Silence filled Izuku's room as neither of the teens spoke, but then Ojiro spoke again. "It's no secret that my quirk isn't flashy. It's just a tale after all, but I'm still determined to achieve my goal." Izuku thought that he's an idiot. How did he even think that Ojiro might not be able to keep up or give up on their rivalry altogether? Ojiro had an iron will. No matter how strong he ever got, Ojiro always found a way to catch up to him and surpass him. There was no way he was going to give up. His spirit is unbreakable. "Yeah, I think that you're capable of doing that, Ojiro." "No, I'm sure of it," Izuku finally replied, making Ojiro smile. He was glad that Izuku didn't mock him or anything but instead believed in him. "That's my rival for you," he thought. "Getting to UA was only our first step," Izuku began. "Yeah, from now on we will compete and push each other to the top. Because that's the spirit of youth," Ojiro said with a lot of enthusiasm before the two boys laughed. The two boys then ended the call and Izuku felt motivated. In fact, he decided that he was going to train again, starting from tomorrow. All Might offered him to relax and take a break until his first day at UA, but he wasn't going to take it. "Right now, I have a new quirk to learn how to use and practice. Not to mention it's All Might's quirk himself," Izuku shouted in his mind, entering his fanboy mode. As a child, he always used to put on his All Might onesie and act as if he was All Might. He would then come to his mother's rescue while saying All Might's catchphrase. Izuku blushed at the memory and chuckled. "I guess that game will soon become my daily life," he mentally thought, but his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. Izuku quickly went to open the door but was shocked when he saw who was waiting in front of it. "Kakakin?" he questioned in surprise. Of all the possible days, why did he have to come today? In fact, why is he even here? They stopped going to each other's house since they were 7. "DKU, how did you get a better score than me? Huh? Did you cheat? You damn nerd. How did a quirkless extra like you took the first place from me?" Crap. I was so shocked and happy by what I saw in the video projection that I forgot that Kakin placed second, right after me. He must be mad right now, especially after what I told him before the exams. I'm sure he won't even let me get away from this. Knowing him, he came for a fight now to prove that he's the best. Izuku said in his head with a bit of worry. Izuku began but was interrupted. Damn it! You fucking brat. Show some respect to your friend. Mitsuki Bakugo. Katsuki Bakugo's mother yelled before hitting her son with a fist on his head. He's not alone. Izuku comically screamed in his head. Damn it! What was that for? You old hag. Bakugo growled. We are at my best friend's house, so I expect you to be on your best behavior. You fucking brat. You hear me? Mitsuki replied. I guess like mother like son. Izuku thought with a nervous smile on his face, weirded out by this family's antics. After all, it's been a long time since he last saw the whole Bakugo family together. Oh, hey Mitsuki, how are you doing? What brings you and Masaru, Katsuki's father, here along with Katsuki? Inko asked her friend. Izuku's eyes drifted from Katsuki and his mother to Masaru. The man was clearly embarrassed by his family's behavior. Izuku wondered how was he able to live with such a family on a daily basis. Isn't it obvious, Inko? We're here to celebrate Izuku's and this brat's success in the UA practical exam. They got first and second place after all. Mitsuki replied, which made Katsuki angrier, much to the writer's surprise who thought that such a thing was impossible. We even brought a cake, Masaru added. If that's the case, then come in, Inko exclaimed. They all sat at the dining table eating and chatting. Well, most of the chat was done by the adults. Katsuki was mad and angrily glaring at Izuku. That is until a certain subject was brought up. But wow, Izuku, you were able to get first place in the practical exam without a quirk. How did you do that? Masaru questioned the Sharingan user. Yes, how did you dash? Katsuki began, but before he had a chance to finish what he wanted to say, his mother smacked him on his head. Izuku has a quirk. Inko responded before Izuku could say anything. The Bakugo family was surprised by this revelation as Katsuki's parents' eyes widened in shock. As long as they knew the Midoriyas, Izuku was quirkless. So when did he get a quirk? On the other hand, Katsuki's shock was replaced by fury. Was he looking down on me this whole time? All this time he had a quirk but never said anything. Does he think that he's better than me? That damn nerd, Katsuki thought as he also remembered how Izuku challenged him before the exams. At first, he thought that Izuku was just saying some random bullshit because he was desperate. However, when he saw Izuku's name in the first place slot, he knew that something was up. What is your quirk, Izuku? Masaru asked, curious about what kind of quirk did Izuku get. Can he breathe fire like his father? Or can he use telekinesis like his mother? It's called Sharingan, Izuku replied, earning him a puzzled look from Masaru. Sharingan, what a dumb name, Katsuki thought. And what does it do? Masaru asked, interested in the young boy's quirk. However, before Izuku could reply, his phone started to ring. So he took his phone out of his pocket to see who's calling him. It's All Might, Izuku thought. I'm sorry, I have to answer this call, Izuku said before going to his room. His girlfriend, Mitsuki said as she grinned. It seems that my Izuku is growing up to become a lady killer, Inko said with a smile. Katsuki only scoffed as he wanted to learn more about Izuku's quirk. Izuku's room. Young Midoriya, I'm sure you were celebrating your success in the practical exam, but I want to talk to you. Could you come to Dagoba Beach now? All Might said over the phone. Sure, All Might. I'll be there in a few minutes, Izuku replied before getting ready. Honestly, he was relieved by this. He didn't want to spend another minute with Bakugo. Over the past year, Izuku and Bakugo stopped interacting with each other, and as busy as he was with his training, Izuku just kind of forgot about Bakugo altogether. He had an important duty to become All Might's successor, and while he wouldn't like to say it like that, he didn't want to waste his time on Bakugo. Izuku then went to the dining hall to inform his mother that he's going out. Mom, I'm sorry, but I have to go. It's urgent. You guys can eat the cake without me. I'll come back later tonight. Oh, Deku come back dash. Katsuki tried to say something, but once again his mother smacked him. Sure. Take your time, Izuku. Inko and Mitsuki said in unison while giving him thumbs up, to which Izuku was confused. I'll let you go this time, Deku. But next time you won't get away, you damn nerd. I'll kill you, Katsuki thought, looking forward to the day he and Izuku would face each other. Dagoba Beach. All Might, Izuku yelled. Who's this? All Might, who was in his skinny form, quickly replied. All Might? A bystander questioned. No way. Where? Said another bystander. Repeat after me. I had the wrong person. All Might quickly whispered, not wanting his secret identity to be discovered. Oh, I had the wrong person, Izuku quickly repeated, much to the bystanders' disappointment. Congratulations on getting the number 1 spot. I can't even begin to exclaim how much I'm proud of you, my boy, All Might exclaimed as he raised his hand for a high five. Thank you very much, Izuku high-fived All Might back. Just so you know, I didn't tell the school about my connection to you. You're the type that would think that's cheating, right? I wasn't one of the judges. Thank you for your concern, but I was surprised to find out that you were a teacher at UA. So that's why you came here, huh? I mean, your agency is in Roppongi in Minato, Tokyo at dash. Izuku's muttering was quickly cut off by All Might. Stop that. All Might sighed before continuing. I couldn't tell anyone before the school announced it. I just happened to be offered a job from UA when I was looking for a successor. I see. He was originally planning on choosing one of the students. Izuku deduced. My body broke with one jump and one punch of one for all. I can't control it at all, Izuku explained as he remembered the events that happened last week. That can't be helped. It's like if you asked a person who suddenly grew a tail to do a trick, they wouldn't even be able to control it. All Might replied, assuring the boy that this was normal. Wait, did you know that this would happen all along? Izuku asked as he was surprised that All Might didn't tell him that his bones would break from the first time using one for all. Well, there wasn't any time, but it turned out all right. It turned out All Might. All Might nervously said, realizing the mistake he had done. Right now, you're either at 100% or 0, All Might said as he grabbed 2 empty cans. But once you control it, you'll be able to adjust to what your body can handle. Actually, I think you can control about 3% of one for all's power. Control? Izuku asked with a bit of confusion. The more you train a vessel, the more you'll be able to move the power freely. All Might further explained, before going to his muscle form and squeezing the 2 cans with one hand. Like this. Wait, is that All Might? The same bystander from before yelled. No way. When did he get here? Let's go, young Midoriya, All Might said as he began to run. Yes, sir, Izuku responded as he ran behind his idol. The flame I passed on to you is still small, but in the future, it'll be exposed to wind and rain and grow even bigger. And then I will slowly become weak and disappear and I will finish my job. Yeah, that's deep, All Might thought, as he looked at Izuku, who was running behind him. After a few minutes of running, All Might now back to his skinny form, and Izuku finally stopped. I'm sure we lost them by now, All Might said, before looking at Izuku. I knew I called you while you were celebrating, but how was it? Don't worry, All Might. I wasn't really having fun there as Bakugo and his family were there. My mom and his parents were chatting while he was just glaring at me, ready to explode at any moment, and his parents asked me about my quirk. Izuku described how the situation was at his home. And what did you say? All Might questioned. I told them that it was called Sharingan, but I didn't have any time to explain the powers it grants because you called. I made sure not to mention one for all, as it is a big secret that no one can know about. Good job, young Midoriya. After all, if people knew about it, many will try to get their hands on its powers. Only 4 people besides you and I know about one for all's existence, including Recovery Girl. I see. You should go back now. You don't want to be late. There's actually one more thing, Izuku said. What is it? All Might questioned, wondering what Izuku wanted to ask him. I'm going to restart my training tomorrow. And why is that? As you just said, I can only control 3% of One for All. Not only is that percentage low, but I also need to know more about One for All. There's only about 1 month left till the start of UA, and I can't just wait until then to restart my training. I already secured my place at the top and I don't want to lose it. So, that means I can't just sit around and do nothing. I have to work harder than anyone. Izuku explained with a lot of determination, which reminded All Might of how he wanted to become stronger, to become the symbol of peace in his younger days. Very well. Meet me here at 5 a.m. like we used to. We're going to get you ready for your first day at UA. All Might replied. Yes, sir. Thank you for everything, All Might. Izuku said his goodbyes and went home. Around 1 month later. Izuku, do you have tissues? Inko asked. Yeah. And your handkerchief? What about your handkerchief? Your hanky? Izuku rolled his eyes and smiled. Yes, Mom, I have it. I'm going to be late. I have to hurry. Oh, one more thing, Izuku, Inko exclaimed. Huh? What is it? Izuku asked. I'm really proud of you, she replied. Thanks, Mom. I'll see you later, Izuku said with a smile. Today was the first day of Izuku's first year at UA. He has been eagerly waiting for this day to come, and honestly, anyone in his shoes would be as excited as him. After all, UA is the best hero course high school in Japan. The school that formed many top heroes like Best Jeanist, Endeavor, and most importantly his mentor, All Might. Class wanna, this place is too big, Izuku said as he was looking for his homeroom. He was wearing a standard UA uniform, which consisted of a gray-colored blazer with yellow buttons, a white-collared shirt, a red tie, and dark blue pants. There it is, Izuku said, but was surprised by the size of his homeroom's door. It was huge. Must be for the people whose quirks make them bigger, Izuku thought before opening the door. Don't put your feet on the desk, the serious guy with glasses, the one from the entrance exam, said. Ha! A familiar angry voice replied. Don't you think that it's rude to the UA upperclassmen and the excellent craftsmen who made the desk? Nope. What junior high did you go to? You side character, Bakugo asked with his usual rude tone. Izuku's sweat dropped. Of course, these two would be in the same class as me, just my luck, Izuku thought. The tall, serious teen with glasses stopped for a moment as he began to speak again. Let's start over. I attended semi-private academy. My name is Tenya Ida. Bakugo scoffed. Semi? So you're a damn elite. Huh? Looks like I'll have fun crushing you. Crushing? That's cruel. Do you truly aim to be a hero? Tenya replied, but noticed Bakugo's attention shifting somewhere. Curious, he looked at the source of attention, only to find Izuku standing there. It's him, Tenya said as he recognized Izuku as the one who destroyed the zero-pointer in the entrance exam. All the students present in the classroom proceeded to look at Izuku. Some of them recognized him too. After all, it was hard to miss a kid who destroyed a giant robot. Oh, Izuku said awkwardly as he wasn't used to having all of the attention on him, due to him being a social outcast for as long as he can remember. Izuku then saw Ojiro as he scanned the classroom. Relieved by this, he waved his hand at Ojiro, who returned the gesture. Bakugo furiously glared at Izuku. He still remembers that Izuku took first place from him. Deku is in my class. Good, because I will crush him too, he thought. Good morning. I am from Semi-Private Academy. My name is Dash. I heard you before. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Ida, Izuku said as he smiled sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head, a habit that has seemed to have stuck with him. Midoriya, you realized there was something more to that practical exam, didn't you? Huh, Izuku responded dumbly. I had no idea. I completely misjudged you. I hate to admit it, but you are better than me, Tenya said as he praised Izuku. Sorry, I actually didn't, Izuku began but was interrupted. Oh, that curly hair. You're the plain-looking one, a familiar, cheerful voice said. Izuku turned around to see the same cute girl that he saved during the entrance exam. He blushed at her comment as he took a good look at her. It's the nice person, Izuku said in his mind, surprised that she was in his class too. You passed, just like Present Mike said, she exclaimed with a cheerful tone. She was glad that the guy who saved her during the entrance exam passed as well. She looks good in a uniform, Izuku thought. Of course you did. Your punch was amazing. Ochako nodded as she imitated Izuku's smash. Izuku's face was now red, definitely embarrassed by this. Oh, well, it was thanks to you going to speak with him directly that Izuku stuttered. Huh? How did you know about that? Oh, that's because… Bakugo looked at the scene in front of him as he kept thinking. How was Deku able to get so strong? Just what is his quirk? And for how long did he hide it from me? He was also angry at the fact that he wasn't the only one from their school to get into UA like he said he would. I wonder if today's just the entrance ceremony and orientation. I wonder what our teachers are like. Aren't you nervous? The girl, identified as Ochako, asked multiple questions, getting closer with each. So close, Izuku thought as he did his best to hide his red face. He wasn't used to girls his age being so up close and personal with him. Well, except for Itsuka, who he got used to her more or less. Go somewhere else if you want to play at being friends, a monotone voice pointed out. Ochako and Izuku looked outside the door to see a man inside a yellow sleeping bag. This is the hero course, the man said as he drank a juice box. Mr. Aizawa? Izuku questioned in shock as he identified the man. The man stood up and unzipped his sleeping bag. Okay, it took 8 seconds before you were quiet. Time is limited. You kids are not rational enough. He lectured them. Mr. Aizawa, are you by any chance our teacher for this year? Izuku asked. Yes, and that would be Aizawa-sensei from now on. He's as worn out as the last time I saw him, Izuku thought with a sweat drop running down his face. Aizawa then entered the class and presented himself, before asking them to put on their gym's uniform and to go out onto the field. Meanwhile, All Might was in the teacher's lounge reading the teacher directory. The UA system does not follow the beaten path. Depending on the homeroom teacher, even the first day can be a quirk assessment test? The class asked in unison. What about the entrance ceremony? The orientation? Ochako asked. If you're going to become a hero, you don't have time for such leisurely events. UA's selling point is how unrestricted its school traditions are. That's also how the teachers run their classes. Aizawa responded as he turned around to see the shocked faces of Class 1A. You kids have been doing these physical tests since junior high too, right? Physical fitness tests where you weren't allowed to use your quirks. The country still uses averages taken from results from students not using their quirks. It is not rational. Well, the Ministry of Education is procrastinating. He then looked towards Izuku. Midoriya, you finished at the top of the practical exam, right? You were the only one who scored above 100 points, earning one of the highest scores ever in the history of UA. You were also able to destroy the zero-pointer, while everybody else was forced to run away. Pretty impressive to say the least, considering your quirk manifested a year ago. His quirk manifested a year ago? Class 1A yelled in unison, surprised by their fellow peers' feats, except for Ojiro, who knew about this since their results came in. However, he was surprised about the matter of his quirk awakening a year ago. Izuku never told him that. Meanwhile, Izuku wasn't too happy with the revelation. He wanted to hide the fact that his quirk manifested a year ago, that before that he was just quirkless. But it seems like life had other plans for him. He also wanted to hide the fact that he got first place in the entrance exam to avoid unnecessary attention, but that was no longer possible too. I guess it can't be helped. I'll just go with the lie All Might and I prepared, but for now, I need to leave a strong impression and there's no better way to do it than acing this test. He thought as he took a glance at Bakugo. I guess with him around my secret wasn't going to be safe for long either. The reason as to why Izuku thought this is pretty simple. To Izuku, quirkless and isolation means the same thing. Once the doctor announced that he was quirkless, his father left him, Katsuki stopped being his friend, he started to get bullied at school and then soon enough became a social outcast. Everyone he ever cared about left him, with the exception being his mother, of course. Ojiro and Itsuka are different though, as Izuku knew without a doubt that they were amazing and irreplaceable friends. However, he also knew that all people aren't like them. Amazing! I didn't know you were able to get that many points, Tenya said as his respect for Izuku only grew. Wow, you must be stronger than I thought, and your quirk is surely amazing, Achiko said as she too was impressed by Izuku's achievements. Izuku blushed and rubbed the back of his head as he smiled sheepishly. I just trained a lot for 10 months. Bakugo was irritated. What? Damn it, Deku. How were you able to get so strong in only 10 months? It doesn't matter, it must have been because of those damn rescue points, Bakugo thought, but he was clearly pissed by Izuku's sudden growth and even nervous. Anyway, that aside, Midoriya, you injured your body in the process. Don't expect that every time you injure yourself that someone will save you. Understand? Why yes, sir. Bakugo, you're the one who got the most villain points with 77 points, placing second to Midoriya. Aizawa pointed out much to Bakugo's annoyance. In junior high, what was your best result for the softball throw? 67 meters. Then try doing it with your quirk. Give it all you've got. Bakugo then stood in the circle and said, then, well, and as he threw the ball he yelled, die! Die! Izuku repeated. Know your own maximum first, Aizawa said as the ball hit the ground after a few seconds. That is the most rational way to form the foundation of a hero. He held up his phone as it read 705.2 meters, as the students were getting excited to use their quirks. What's this? It looks fun, a pink-skinned girl with yellow horns and yellow eyes said. We can use our quirks as much as we want, as expected from the hero course, another student yelled. It looks fun, huh? Aizawa said ominously. You have 3 years to become a hero. Will you have an attitude like that the whole time? All right. Whoever comes in last place in all 8 tests will be judged to have no potential and will be punished with expulsion. Ha! Most of the students of Class 1A shouted. Aizawa, huh? It seems like Izuku is going to be facing a lot of suffering from the start. I still remember how he was impressed with the boy's potential, and I'm sure he wants to push him further, All Might said as he looked at Shota Aizawa's profile in the teacher directory. Punished with expulsion. From our last encounter, I'm pretty sure he's not bluffing, Izuku thought as he remembered how serious his teacher is. We're free to do what we want about the circumstances of our students. Welcome to UA's hero course, Aizawa said as he moved his hair out of the way, showing his freaky smirking face. Achiko spoke up. Last place will be expelled? But it's the first day of school. No, even if it wasn't the first day of school, this is too unfair. Natural disasters, big accidents, and selfish villains. Calamities whose time or place can't be predicted. Japan is covered with unfairness. Heroes are the ones who reverse those situations. If you wanted to go talk with your friends at Mickey D's after school, too bad. For the next 3 years, UA will do all it can to give you one hardship after another. Go beyond. Plus ultra. Overcome it with all you've got. Tenya took out his water bottle and began to drink. This is too serious to be hazing. However, this is the best of the best. There is no choice but to do it. Oh, I can't wait to blast everything in my path, Bakugo thought. All right, demonstration is over. The real thing starts now, he said as he looked at Izuku, who unlike many of his classmates was calm and not nervous at all. Chapter 6. The Quirk Assessment Test. All right, demonstration is over. The real thing starts now. Test 1. 50-meter dash. The first test was the 50-meter dash. 2 students will line up and race each other at a time. A camera-like computer machine will read and measure each student's time. The first 2 students lined up ready to race are Tenya Ida and a green-haired girl with features similar to that of a frog. On your mark, get set. Then the machine made the sound of a gunshot signaling the beginning of the race. Tenya blasted off and was the first one to finish the race. 3.04 seconds. The computer announced as soon as Tenya passed the finish line. Shortly after, the frog-like girl was able to cross the finish line as well. For 50 meters, I can only go up to third gear, Tenya thought. Name, Tenya Ida. Quirk. Engine. He has engines in his calves which allows him to move at super high speeds. Well, he's like a fish in water. He's certainly in his element. However, speed isn't the only attribute that is essential for a pro hero. It'll be worth seeing what others do, Aizawa said in his mind. Name, Tsuyu Azui. Quirk. Frog. Well, the name speaks for itself. She can do whatever a frog can. Tsuyu's 50-meter dash time was recorded as 5.58 seconds, which is not too shabby. Lighten up my clothes and shoes, she said to herself, as she reduced the weight of her clothes using her quirk. Name, Achiko Uraraka. Quirk. Zero gravity. Anything she touches will become weightless, and she will have absolute control over it. However, her drawback is that if she overuses her quirk, she will begin to become nauseous. I have to give it my all today. Midoriya and I promised each other to reach the top together, so I need to avoid expulsion at all costs, Ojiro said in his mind as he prepared himself for the race. The machine made the gunshot sound as Achiko and Ojiro began to race. Ojiro crossed the finish line in 5.0 seconds while Achiko did so in 7.15 seconds. Not bad, Ojiro, not bad at all, Izuku murmured with a smirk before his and Ojiro's eyes met. This was going to be yet another one of their competitions. Humph. Everyone, you're not being creative enough. I'll show you what it's like to be allowed to use your quirk, a blonde French kid said. Name, Yuga Aoyama. Quirk. Naval laser. He can shoot a laser from his belly button, but he's limited by the amount of time he can shoot continuously. 5.51 seconds. If I shoot for more than a second, I get a stomachache, Aoyama pointed out. What the heck? Thought the various students of Class 1A, as they thought that his quirk's drawback was pretty weird. Looking at the upper limit of your quirks and the room for growth in each result, it becomes clear what you can and can't do, Aizawa thought before he looked at the last two students, who were getting ready to race. They were none other than Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. On your mark. Bakugo looked to his right and said, Try not to fall too far behind me, Deku. Get set. Oh, we'll see about that, Kakin, Izuku said in his mind with a smirk appearing on his face. He decided to activate his Sharingan and use 8% of one for all in his right foot. He was going to boost himself and give himself a push before running with his pure physical strength. That will connect to the creativity needed for you to survive, Aizawa thought as the gunshot sound went off and both students blasted off. Explosive speed, Bakugo shouted as he ignited his hands with explosives that allowed him to get a boost of speed. 4.10 seconds. Bakugo grew angry as he saw Izuku taking the lead thanks to the boost he got earlier. During this whole race, he was just trying to catch up to him, which contradicts what he told Izuku before the race. 4.13 seconds. Bakugo finished the race slightly after Izuku. Damn it! How did he get ahead of me? Bakugo angrily thought. I have to use both the Sharingan and one for all at the same time so that no one suspects that I have two quirks, Izuku mentally thought as he looked at his hand. I managed to increase my control of one for all up to 8% during the month between the exam and the school's first day, but I still have a long way to go. He looked at his score before his eyes drifted to Ojiro, who complimented his friend by giving him a thumbs up, which Izuku returned too. They were going to push themselves to do better and better. Test 2, Grip Strength. Izuku proceeded to reactivate his Sharingan and one for all at 8% in his right hand, before grabbing the object. He was surprised to see that his grip strength was 175 kilograms, placing him in second place after the tentacles guy named Shoji. He's holding back, Aizawa thought to himself. This definitely wasn't the power Izuku showed during the practical exam. But Aizawa also didn't understand how Izuku got super strength. He didn't have it last year when he came to UA. Ojiro came at fourth place. He used both his hand and tail, giving him a grip strength of 150 kilograms, placing him after a tall girl with a ponytail that created a special device to help increase her grip strength for the test. So far, I can say we're doing a great job, Ojiro exclaimed, snapping Izuku out of his gaze. Huh? Yeah, we're doing so well. If we keep up the good work, we won't risk expulsion. Izuku replied. Is something wrong? You seem troubled. Ojiro commented as it seems like Izuku had something on his mind. Ah, nothing to worry about, Izuku replied. Why are they using their quirks like that? Izuku said in his mind. Test 3. Standing long jump. Izuku activated his Sharingan and started to run at full speed. Just as he was about to jump, he activated 8% in 1 foot and jumped, giving him a decent score. Bakugo was happy that he managed to beat Izuku in that test. He and a few students were able to clear the entire sandbox thanks to their quirks. I still don't understand. They're using their quirks differently, Izuku noted as he observed many students with his Sharingan. Test 4. Repeated side steps. Izuku decided not to use his quirks for this test. He didn't really need to. The last person to go was Mineta, and he was the only one to get a higher score than Izuku. He used the purple balls placed on his head to bounce him back and forth with little to no effort. Something is off, Izuku thought. I can see with my Sharingan that everyone is using their quirks, not like an on and off switch. They're channeling the blue energy of their quirk through their entire body. Izuku began to solve the problem that has been troubling him ever since the test started. But that means that everything I've been doing till now is wrong. It means that I haven't been using one for all correctly all along. Flashback. Detroit Smash, Izuku shouted as he hit the punching bag All Might brought him. Alright, that's it for today, All Might said. Izuku had just finished his training at Dagoba Beach. His control over One for All had improved from 3% to 5%, but he thought that something was still off. He didn't know how to put it, but despite having the power of All Might, he didn't feel like he was All Might. His initial thought was that it was due to his lack of control. However, he felt that there's another trick to it. All Might, Izuku called his mentor, grabbing his attention. Is there a special trick when it comes to controlling One for All? He asked. The trick to controlling One for All. All Might put his hand on his chin and began to think about it. Well, it's feeling, All Might dramatically shouted. Wow, that's All Might for you, Izuku shot back in enthusiasm. You've already pulled out the 100%, All Might said, remembering his successor's performance. It destroyed me, though, Izuku replied. But now that you have it, it'll be easy. You should have already grasped the feeling. What was it like? All Might asked. Izuku began to think about it. He had stopped thinking about the feeling ever since he discovered that he's able to see One for All in his body. He was really surprised that day. It was weird, but he deduced that his enhanced perception made him now able to see this blue energy in his body or whatever it is. And upon looking at other people, he discovered that other people had it too. He further deduced that people use this energy to use their quirks. After all, it was the same thing with One for All. He was able to see the energy of One for All flowing in his muscles and make sure that he wasn't using 100%, thus not breaking his bones. Shortly after, he finally remembered the feeling. It was like BZZT or a whoosh. Izuku said, and seeing the puzzled look on All Might's face, he tried to be more specific. I know, like an egg put in a microwave. Hearing this, All Might burst out laughing and blood came out of his mouth. That's boring but unique. If that's the image you have, then lower the wattage or shorten the cooking time. Anything's fine. Just focus on the image of the egg not exploding. The image? Izuku repeated as he found a piece of the puzzle he was trying to solve. You have 3 weeks until school starts. Keep focusing on that image. It won't happen overnight, but I'm sure you will be able to control One for All more fluently someday. At some point, it'll even be as easy as breathing. Back to the present. So, during the month between the entrance exam and the first day, Izuku learned more and more about both quirks. He learned that with his Sharingan, he could faintly see a blue energy that grew and moved whenever people used their quirks, and that he had to grasp a certain feeling in order to fluently control One for All. However, unlike him, the students were using this energy in an entirely different way, and he couldn't help but find it really odd. Could this be the final piece of the puzzle I have been looking for? Maybe if I channel my blue energy like them and slightly change the image I have in mind, I might be finally able to fluently control one for all. Test 5 Ball Throw. I wonder why Midoriya isn't using the super strength he displayed during the entrance exam? Tenya asked, curious why Izuku was holding back, especially after Aizawa's threat. Huh? What do you mean by super strength? That pitiful nerd is weak as fuck, Bakugo replied. I'm sure all he did was some training and martial arts or something. There's no way Deku could ever get a strong quirk, he added with his usual violent tone. You're wrong, you didn't see him when he destroyed the zero-pointer with one punch. He was truly amazing, Tenya replied while Bakugo scoffed. Tenya clearly remembered that day, and until now, he is still amazed by the display of strength Izuku put during the exam. Yeah, I heard about the rumors that someone from Battle Center destroyed the zero-pointer with one punch, not to mention he got first place on the entrance exam, so let's not underestimate him, a red-haired boy added. Meanwhile, Izuku went to his designated spot, activated his Sharingan, and charged his arm with 8% of one for all. But before he could throw the ball, he saw from the corner of his eyes Aizawa using his capture weapon to bind him, so he dodged the attack. I see you're still quick on your feet, Midoriya, Aizawa said in a monotone voice. Come with me for a second. Everyone was in awe at Izuku's reflexes. It's like he predicted his attack, Tenya shouted. He thought that unless his quirk was super speed, there was no way he could have dodged the attack that easily. He had to admit, if he was in Izuku's shoes, he wouldn't have been able to dodge the attack. But isn't Izuku's quirk some kind of super strength? But Aizawa-sensei doesn't seem impressed. I don't think it's their first time meeting, Karo, Tsuyu exclaimed as she put a finger on her chin. Now that I think of it, Midoriya did recognize Aizawa-sensei immediately. Tenya replied as he recalled the events that happened earlier. Class A then began to make assumptions and try to guess how the student-teacher duo knew each other. One of them even suggested that Izuku might be Aizawa's secret love child. I wonder who suggested that. Why are you holding back? Aizawa asked. What do you mean? Izuku replied with another question, confused by what Aizawa meant. Why are you not using the same power you used to destroy the zero-pointer or something even close to it? Are you half-assing my test thinking that I won't expel you because we're acquainted? Aizawa sternly said. No, it's not like that, not at all, sensei, Izuku said as he waved his arms in defense. It's just that I discovered this new part of my quirk on the day of the exam, and I can't use it to the maximum, or I'll break my bones, just like the day of the exam, he added, fully explaining the situation. Aizawa let out a sigh, understanding Izuku's situation. That makes sense considering that super strength wasn't your thing last time we met. Fine, given you only discovered your quirk last year, I can't expel you, and as your teacher, I can't ask you to break your bones and end up incapacitated. However, you must know that in the future, dire situations will require you to use your maximum. It's part of the job of being a pro hero. I won't pressure you, but you better learn how to properly control your power soon instead of being a glass cannon, or I'll expel you. I have high expectations for you, so don't disappoint me. He then gave Izuku another ball to retry the test. You can throw however you want, but consider what I said to be your first lesson. Izuku went back to redo the ball throw test, thinking about Aizawa's words. He's right, I have to learn how to fully control one for all soon. I cannot use the control excuse forever. I have to work harder than everyone to become the #1 hero. But until then, it's likely that I would face some situations that will require my full power. And I'll have a maximum of 2 punches before I'm entirely useless. I need to find another way to use my full power and stay in a fight. Deku seems in deep thought, Achiko commented, to which Tenya nodded. Whatever Aizawa-sensei told him, it must have been serious. Tenya added. You're just a pebble, Deku. There's no way you'll beat someone like me, Bakugo said in his mind as he observed Izuku. Suddenly, an idea popped out in Izuku's head. If he wants to see a power remotely close to what I showed during the entrance exam and limiting the risk of injury, I guess I could give it a try. Music. My Hero Academia OST Yusei Run. Until now, I didn't get any limit-breaking score, and all that's left is this, the long-distance run, sit-ups, and the seated toe touch. It's now or never. I won't lose the first place I worked so hard to get. I'm All Might's successor after all, so I can't accept this. I have to live up to his expectations. It's about time, Aizawa murmured as he could clearly see Izuku's sheer determination in his Sharingan. Izuku, you're really cool. Inko's voice came to Izuku's head. You can become a hero. All Might's voice came to his head. I'll definitely become the greatest hero, he shouted in his mind, and everyone was able to feel the rising tension in the air. Izuku then gripped the ball nice and hard and prepared to throw it. Meanwhile, All Might was hiding at a corner and watching his successor, but then he saw what was he about to do. Hey, is he serious? The Sharingan user charged 100% of one for all in his index finger, as the energy was coursing through his veins. However, just as this was happening, the blue energy grew more intense and changed from blue to cyan. He then threw the ball, pushing it at the end with his index, breaking it and then yelling with all his might. Smash! The ball launched into the air so fast that it broke the sound barrier, creating gusts of winds one after the other. All of the students were knocked off their feet and many of them quickly closed their eyes and covered their ears, desperately trying to shield their eyes from the dust and protect their ears from the sound. There was even a purple-haired girl who screamed in agony because of how loud the sound was. It doesn't hurt as much as before. No, wait, it hurts even more, Izuku thought, as for some reason the pain was even more unbearable than last time. It didn't make any sense to him. He didn't know why, but he knew he had to stand tall. He then turned his attention to Aizawa and closed his fist. Aizawa-sensei, I can still move, Izuku said, looking at Aizawa, with a victory look in his eyes and a smirk. Music ends. However, he was surprised to see Aizawa covering his ears and in pain. Izuku then looked at the class to find the mess he created. Ha! I killed half of my class during my first day at UA. Izuku comically panicked as his eyes bulged from their sockets. After a few moments, the class recovered and pulled themselves together. Aizawa immediately sent the purple-haired girl to the infirmary because her ears were bleeding while the others still had a hard time hearing anything, including Izuku himself. Shortly after, they finally began to process what just happened. Aizawa just groaned before saying, "It seems like you always find a way to surpass my expectations, kid." He then held up his phone as it read 1200 meters, and immediately all of the Class 1A students' jaws dropped. Congratulations, you earned the title of Problem Child. For God's sake, I already suffer from dry eyes. Don't go and make me deaf too, Aizawa added. 1,200 meters. That's crazy, the red-haired boy yelled while trying to pick up his jaw from the floor. Oi! How are we supposed to compete with that? A yellow-haired boy asked with visible shock in his voice. Izuku Midoriya, huh? Looks like you'll be more troublesome than I initially thought, a certain bicolor-haired teen murmured to himself. Yes, this is it. This is the power he displayed during the exam. Achiko cheered as she jumped in her place. Incredible. His power never fails to amaze me, Tenya said while nodding to Achiko's statement and agreeing with her. No, this power is even stronger than the one he used during the entrance exam, he shouted. However, his finger is swollen. He broke his arm and legs during the entrance exam as well. His quirk is really powerful, but it is also very strange, Tenya added with his finger resting on his chin as he pondered about Izuku's abilities and his unique powers. I came because I was worried, but what the heck? Young man, you still can't control 100% of one for all, but you also couldn't become incapacitated. So, you propelled the ball at the last point of contact by sending the power of one for all to just your finger, minimizing the injury while maximizing the power. What the heck? Young man, you're so cool, All Might screamed in his head, thinking how cool his successor is, but then his expression turned into shock. But young Midoriya, what the hell is this power? It might be as strong as the power I once had during my prime. What's with that power? Everyone's quirks manifest by the age of 4. It's already unthinkable that his quirk manifested last year, let alone becoming this powerful in a short amount of time. Bakugo thought. He was furious. To think that Deku's power was strong enough to knock him off his feet. What is the meaning of this? Hey, Tell me what's going on. DKU. You bastard. Bakugo roared as he charged at Izuku with explosions in his hands, unable to contain his anger anymore. As he was charging, Aizawa used his capture weapon to bind him and erased his quirk. Try something like this again, and you'll be immediately expelled, Aizawa said. His eyes were red and his hair was rising and floating. I see those goggles. You're the pro hero, Eraserhead, Izuku deduced after seeing Aizawa's quirk and putting 2 and 2 together. Eraser? I don't know him, one of the students questioned. I've heard of him. He's an underground hero, one of the students replied. In reality, the only reason Aizawa wasn't famous was his hate for the media. Yaoyorozu create a bandage for Midoriya's finger. Midoriya, after the exam I'll give you a letter to go to Recovery Girl, Aizawa said, releasing Bakugo in the process. Izuku went back to stand beside his classmates, but when he did, some of them took a few steps away from him. They were definitely afraid of him. Midoriya, what was that? Ojiro asked his friend. This was unbelievable. Izuku just rubbed the back of his head and smiled sheepishly. I don't know. I just used the full extent of my quirk and as you see, I got injured. But still that was incredible. It was so manly, the red-haired kid told Izuku. Man, you threw the ball over 1 kilometer away. Sheesh, you're definitely something else, a yellow-haired teen added. Soon enough, many other students began to praise him and Izuku couldn't help but blush and shrink under all this attention. For the first time in his life, Bakugo wasn't the one who was being praised, the one who everyone fawned over him. Normally, he wouldn't care, but the idea of Deku being the one who's getting all that praise and attention instead of him shook him to his core. When Achiko's turn came, she used her zero-gravity quirk on the ball and threw it as it kept on floating and floating until it became a twinkling star in the sky as it went into space. Aizawa showed what his phone read, and everybody was aghast to see that it read a pink infinity symbol. Infinity? Class 1A shouted. Guess I lost this one, and to think I had to break my finger. Izuku thought as he had a flat expression on his face, but he shook it off and smiled. Test 6. Sit-ups. Izuku and Ojiro destroyed this competition with their pure physical strength. Bakugo tried to keep up with them but lost them when they reached 100. Are you going to give up, Midoriya? Ojiro asked. No, I can still go on, Izuku replied. That's the spirit of youth. After seeing both boys not stopping even after 500 sit-ups and not wanting to waste any more time, Aizawa decided to end this in a draw, much to the two boys' dismay. Test 7. Seated toe touch. Due to Izuku's taekwondo training that required him to be flexible, he was able to ace that test, getting first place. Seeing this, the pink-skinned girl who placed second approached Midoriya and said, I've never met someone more flexible than me. I'm Mina Ashido. She then moved near his ear and whispered, Maybe we can dance together and see how flexible you are, Midoriya. At that moment, Izuku's face became completely red and steam could be seen coming out of his ears. He began stuttering and waving his arms, which made Mina laugh. Test 8. Long-distance run. After about half an hour, the only people who were still running around the field were Izuku, Ojiro, and Momo Yaoyorozu. Since Izuku's quirk, Sharingan, uses a lot of stamina, All Might made sure that Izuku had to run 10 kilometers every day, in order to increase his quirk's time limit from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. That, and his training with Kurigane-sensei pushed him to his absolute limits too. However, first place went to Momo, who created a bike and kept pedaling. However, she had to admit the two boys gave her a hard time. She almost lost to them and was exhausted after this test. She was happy to know that it was the last one. After the end of the tests, Aizawa made his calculations before showing them their overall placements. Class 1A Quirk Assessment Test Results. 1. Izuku Midoriya. 2. Momo Yaoyorozu. 3. Shoto Todoroki. 4. Katsuki Bakugo. 5. Mashireo Ojiro. 6. Tenya Ida. 7. Fumikage Tokoyami. 8. Mizo Shoji. 9. Eijiro Kirishima. 10. Mina Ashido. 11. Achiko Uraraka. 12. Koji Koda. 13. Rikido Sato. 14. Tsuyu Ajui. 15. Yuga Aoyama. 16. Hanta Siro. 17. Denki Kaminari. 18. Kyoka Jiro. 19. Toru Hagakure. 20. Minoru Mineta. Izuku was quite surprised to see his name at the top and ranking first, but he was happy. This gave him more confidence in himself and his abilities. Looks like you defeated me again, Midoriya. Seems like I have to improve more. I'm your rival after all, and I can't fall behind you, Ojiro exclaimed, willing to get stronger to catch up to his rival. Well, you did pretty good yourself. Look, you're at the top 5, Izuku exclaimed, trying to cheer up his friend. Almost there, Ojiro murmured. He was happy that the gap between them somewhat decreased. Meanwhile, Mineta's eyes began to tear up as he saw that he got the last place in the Quirk assessment test. And no way, I'm getting expelled on the first day. But right before he started to sob fully, Aizawa cut him off. By the way, I was lying about the expulsion. No one is going home. Everyone in Class 1A, besides Momo, was speechless as their eyes were as wide as saucers. Aizawa smirked as he made his trademark freaky face. It was a rational deception to draw out the upper limits of your quirks. What? Class 1A yelled beside Momo as the rest of the class did not take kindly to being deceived so easily. Of course, that was a lie. It should have been obvious if you just thought it through. It's the first day of school, for crying out loud, Momo said. Bakugo just scoffed in annoyance, probably because he got 4th overall in the Quirk assessment test and Izuku was number 1. Something that he had never even considered being possible, not even in a million years. With that, we're done here. There are handouts with the curriculum and such in the classroom, so when you get back, look over them. Aizawa then walked towards Izuku with a slip of paper in his hand. Midoriya, have the old lady fix you in the nurse's office. Tomorrow will be packed with even more rigorous tests. Prepare yourself, Aizawa said as he gave Izuku the slip of paper and walked away. Izuku looked at the slip of paper as he was immersed in his thoughts. I got through this for now. I may be strong, but there are still things that I can't do. I made it to first place, so I have a good head start. I just need to make sure I keep working harder than everyone. Aizawa, you liar. Oh, good morning, All Might. So, you were watching? You got too much time on your hands, Aizawa said as he passed by All Might when he was on his way back inside. A rational deception, you said? Haha, nice joke, but April Fool's was last week. You punished a whole class of last year's first years with expulsion. You cut those you judged to be without hesitation. For a man like that to take back his words, that must be because you also felt it too, right? Izuku Midoriya's incredible growth and potential, All Might bellowed as he pointed at Aizawa. Aizawa gained a suspicious look on his face as a smirk appeared on his face. Also, you seem to be supporting him quite a bit. Is it too far-fetched to say that maybe you have been giving young Midoriya a little favoritism? All Might widened his eyes as he realized his mistake. Crap, I need to be more careful with the way I speak about Izuku towards others. Is that how a teacher should be acting? Aizawa started to walk away, but he decided to say one last thing before he and All Might parted ways. It's true what you say. He does have an enormous amount of potential, probably the most potential a UA student has ever had, including you and Endeavor. Aizawa pointed out, making All Might flinch. So he noticed that too. But potential will only get you so far in this world. Execution is what matters. There are still many things he needs to learn for him to become a pro one. He needs to stop breaking his bones and control his quirk. A mistake like that could cost his or other people's lives if he's not careful. Also, it seems like he's using his quirk as an on and off switch, not as an extension of his body. I'll make sure to tell him this tomorrow during the hero basic training. I will always cut those without potential. There's nothing crueler than letting a dream end midway. That was the last thing he said before he walked off, leaving All Might to his own devices. All Might smiled as he heard Aizawa's harsh, but honest words. But then he thought about that last part, like an on and off switch. So, you're being kind in your own way, huh, Aizawa? All Might sighed. I guess we don't really get along after all. Classes were now over as the first day of UA High School for Izuku Midoriya ended. The students were leaving the front gates as they conversed with one another, speaking about how the first day went for them, how the classes and the teachers were, and whatnot. The first day of the school year always has the most energy, more than most of the days in the school year. I'm so tired, Izuku said as he walked out the main gates of UA, feeling very fatigued as he did. Ojiro had to leave early to train with Daisuke-sensei, so Izuku was walking all alone. Just then, a strong hand grabbed Izuku's right shoulder. He already knew who the person was since he got used to it by now. Izuku turned around and greeted them. Hey Ida, what's up? Is your finger healed? Tenya asked, concerned about his peer's health. Yeah, thanks to Recovery Girl, Izuku said as he showed Tenya his bandaged finger. Flashback. Nurse's office. Kiss. Recovery Girl kissed Izuku's broken finger as a green light illuminated it and healed it completely. Wow, it's healed, but I suddenly feel very tired. I need a nap, Izuku said as he instantly felt the fatigue kicking in. My quirk can only stimulate a person's healing ability. Healing requires stamina. If you keep getting major injuries, you'll use too much stamina and end up dying instead, so be careful, Recovery Girl said as she gave Izuku candy so that he regain some energy. I'll end up dying instead? Izuku cried in horror. Izuku then noticed the purple-haired girl that he indirectly injured after his ball throw. Hey. I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry for what happened during the test. I didn't mean to. He began as he started to repeatedly bow and mutter, still ashamed of himself. She got hurt because he couldn't control his quirk properly. However, the girl stopped him. It's fine. I'm all healed up now, and you didn't know what my quirk was. Aizawa-sensei also seemed to have put a lot of pressure on you, so it can't be helped, she said as she opened the nurse's office door. See you tomorrow, Green. And with that, she left, leaving Izuku all alone. Green. Izuku questioned the nickname the girl gave him because she didn't know his name. Back to the present. I can't just keep getting help from others. I have to hurry up and learn how to control one for all. No, I also have to awaken the second tomo in my right eye, Izuku said mentally as he and Ida walked side by side. I was really taken in by Aizawa-sensei. I even thought, this is the best of the best and such. I didn't think a teacher would encourage us with a lie, but it seemed to have worked out in the end. Although, I don't understand how you two know each other, Ida said as he crossed his arms, curious about the relation between Izuku and Aizawa. Well, you can say I fought him last year, Izuku replied. You what? Tenya asked with visible shock. Was his classmate a villain or something before coming to UA? Yes, I fought him when my quirk manifested. He was helping Recovery Girl study my quirk because it's unique, Izuku replied, not mentioning All Might. I see. Tenya simply responded as he put a hand on his chin, processing what he just heard. I thought Ida was scary, but he's just earnest, Izuku thought as he was impressed by Tenya's diligence. Hey, you two, going to the station, right? Wait for me, Achiko shouted as she walked towards Izuku and Tenya. Uraraka. Oh, you're the Infinity Girl, Tenya said as Uraraka caught up with them. I'm Achiko Uraraka, she introduced herself. You're Tenya Ida, Achiko said as she pointed at Ida. And you're Deku Midoriya, right? Deku? Izuku asked with visible confusion. Huh? But during the fitness test, the boy named Bakugo said, Deku, you bastard, right? Achiko questioned while trying to imitate Bakugo. My real name is Izuku, but Deku is what Kaken calls me to make fun of me, Izuku said as he rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. An insult? Tenya questioned. Oh, is that right? I'm sorry, I didn't know. But Deku sounds like the Japanese word dikairu for you can do it. It has some sort of never give up vibe, so I kinda like it. Dku it is, Izuku said immediately with no hesitation as his face was bright red. What? But Midoriya, you're accepting it too easily. Wasn't that an insult? Tenya said as he was perplexed by the situation. It's like a Copernican revolution, Izuku mumbled as he hid his blushing face with his hands comically. Kopi, Achiko asked confused as she didn't get the reference that Izuku was making. Midoriya, you mentioned that your quirk was unique, that even Recovery Girl was studying it. Can you tell us more about it? Tenya asked, curious about the Sharingan user's quirk. Well, it's called Sharingan. When I activate it, my eyes become red, with a black ring showing around my pupils. On my right eye's black ring, I have one tomo, but on the left one I have two. Izuku said, but both of them looked confused, so he activated it to show them. I see. And what powers does it give you? Tenya replied, interested in Izuku's quirk. It gives me the power to read my opponent's movements and predict them like I'm slightly seeing the future thanks to the increased perception it grants me. It also gives me the power to copy other people's fighting styles and techniques, making them my own. But my body must be physically able to do it. Also, it can boost my physical strength, but if I overdo it, I'll break my bones. That's all I know about it for now. Midoriya, that's amazing, Tenya exclaimed. Yes, Deku. Compared to you, our quirks are outmatched, Achiko added as she thought how amazing Izuku's quirk was. No, please don't say that. You guys have awesome quirks too. Although he said that, Izuku was happy that people thought his quirk is amazing, well, technically his quirks. But imagine envying him, the same kid who used to be quirkless a year ago. Pushing that aside, the group of three began to walk towards the train station, conversing on the way there. There are so many things I can't do yet. I have to work hard and do my best. This is only the beginning of my journey to become a hero. But All Might, I can at least be happy that I have friends, right? Izuku thought as he finally had people who he can call friends. It has been a while since he has socialized with his classmates or other people in his school. It made him feel happy that now his life was finally taking a step forward from the darkness and sadness it used to be. Meanwhile, in the teacher's lounge, All Might was sitting down as he stared at his hero costume, which was currently in his hands. You don't have time to relax, young man. The real thing starts tomorrow. Chapter 7, Izuku's Resolve. Meanwhile, in the teacher's lounge, All Might was sitting down as he stared at his hero costume, which was currently in his hands. You don't have time to relax, young man. The real thing starts tomorrow. That night, my phone is ringing. I wonder who's calling me, Izuku said before getting up. He was currently in his room, finishing a push-up set. It's All Might. Hello, young Midoriya. How was your first day at school? All Might asked his protege. It was cool. I got first place in the Quirk assessment test, Izuku replied while using a towel to wipe his sweat. That's my successor for you. Anyways, I want to meet you at Dagoba Beach. Right now. Yes, it's about one for all. Alright, I'll be there in a few minutes. Izuku ended the call and then went to take a shower and get ready to meet All Might. Dagoba Beach. Tashinori-sensei. All Might looked at the voice's owner and was glad to see Izuku, who had made sure not to call him by his hero name this time. Young Midoriya. Sorry if I made you wait. No, it's my fault for calling you on short notice. So, what is this all about? Izuku asked. Well, I've watched your performance today in the Quirk assessment test. I even talked with Aizawa, and he thinks you're doing something wrong while using the new ability of your quirk. One for all to be precise. Is it about me breaking my bones? Izuku questioned, thinking that his teacher wasn't happy with what happened during the ball throw test. Not to mention how he hurt everyone present too. No, not exactly. All Might then looked around to make sure no one was around just in case and then powered up to his muscle form. Young Midoriya, I want you to punch my hands 2 times. One with your right and the other with your left using one for all. All Might instructed, to which Izuku nodded. Izuku then proceeded to power up and charge the power of one for all at 8% in his right arm. The energy coursed through his veins before Izuku punched All Might's hand. All Might was surprised to see his hand pushed back a little. He was holding back, but he should have had perfectly blocked the punch with the amount of strength he put in. Something is definitely different about him, All Might thought before he quickly shrugged it off, waiting for Izuku's second punch that for some reason didn't come. Izuku, who was still charging the power of One for All in his left arm, was cut off by All Might. "Why are you taking so much time to punch my other hand?" All Might asked. "I was charging the power of One for All in my left arm," Izuku replied, a bit confused by the question and why All Might stopped him. "Am I doing something wrong? Wait, is he trying to tell me?" Izuku thought. "He's using his quirk as an on and off switch." All Might remembered Aizawa's words. "You're using your quirk like an on and off switch, and not like an extension of my body," Izuku continued as he figured out what was All Might trying to tell him. "Wait, you knew?" All Might quickly replied, surprised by his successor's words. He didn't expect Izuku to know the answer. "All Might, do you remember when I told you how I'm able to faintly see a blue energy inside people's bodies?" Izuku asked. "Yes, I do remember. You said something about how this energy is actually what makes people use their quirks." All Might replied as he tried to remember Izuku's explanation from that day. "Correct. By channeling this energy and using it, anyone can use his quirk. Before I started to imagine the egg in the microwave, I used to observe with my Sharingan this energy and channel it, in a way that makes me able to safely use One for All without breaking my bones," Izuku explained as All Might paid attention to understand everything that Izuku was saying. "Yes, but with practice you were able to control the output by getting used to the feeling and imagining the egg in the microwave," All Might explained, helping his student with the puzzle he was trying to complete. However, when I observed my classmates' quirks during the quirk apprehension test, I noticed something different." "What is it?" "They were channeling this energy in their entire body. For example, that blonde-haired kid named Aoyama. The energy that is spread through his entire body concentrates in his stomach, allowing him to shoot his beams. The pink-skinned girl named Mina. She spreads the energy in her entire body before she can shoot her acid from anywhere. The same thing with that girl named Momo Yaoyorozu, except that her energy lets her create anything," Izuku replied. "Let me guess, you channel it in one limb, right?" "Yeah," Izuku replied with a sheepish smile on his face. All Might could only smirk at his protégé's words. The boy was a natural genius. "I see your analysis skills are as sharp as always, young Midoriya. So, do you have any idea on how to improve?" Izuku then shook his head and began to think out loud. One for All and the Sharingan are really different. In order to use the Sharingan, all I have to do is activate it through my eyes, and then I can use its powers freely, but for One for All I have to activate it. Wait, the Sharingan is a quirk which all I need to do to use it is just activate it from the start, and One for All is a quirk like the Sharingan, so all I have to do is channel the energy in my entire body before I use it. No, I have to channel it and keep it spread out while controlling the output and making sure that I don't go over 8%. All Might, I figured it out. All Might just looked at Izuku with a puzzled expression and sweat dropped. He had to admit that Izuku's muttering was really helpful to the kid. No, a very weird powerful asset that could be considered a quirk. "Then show me what you can do, young Midoriya." "Yes, sir." Izuku then concentrated and activated One for All. He also activated his Sharingan to make sure that the blue energy was spreading through his entire body at 8%. However, he was surprised to see that it's cyan. "Can you move?" All Might asked. Izuku waved his right arm, trying to get the feeling of this new power. "I think I can, but there's something else I just noticed," he replied. "What is it?" The energy's color changed to cyan. It's not blue anymore. All Might was really surprised by this. He already had little to no info about this whole blue energy thing, but now Izuku was telling him that his energy went from blue to cyan. He was afraid that something bad might happen. However, the next thing that happened surprised him more, as green/cyan lightning began to swirl around Izuku's body. "Is this normal?" Izuku asked, not knowing if All Might ever went through something like that. "No, this isn't normal by any means," All Might replied. Seeing that nothing else was happening, All Might decided to test Izuku's new form. "Try to throw those 2 punches again." Izuku was able to perfectly land 2 consecutive punches at a high speed. All Might was surprised by this. He was glad that he put in more strength in his hand before the attack. Good job, young Midoriya. Try 2 kicks now. Izuku then landed 2 kicks without any delay. All Might was now sure that Izuku reached a whole new level of power. How do you feel? He asked to make sure that his successor is okay. I feel like my body is much lighter and stronger now, Izuku responded. He was in awe by this new power, as there was so much he could do now. The possibilities were endless. All Might hummed in thought, trying to come up with some theory about Izuku's new form. My theory is that since One for All gets stronger with each generation, it might have reached a new level, and could explain why your energy changed to cyan. I think it just took its time until it finally blended with your DNA. It could also explain why your ball throw was too powerful today. Izuku nodded as he couldn't help but agree with everything All Might said. After all, it was the only reasonable explanation they had. However, little did Izuku and All Might both know that this wasn't a regular power-up, but something much bigger. I think I'll call this form One for All, Full Cowl. Izuku pointed out and All Might nodded, having no problem with the name. Then it seems like we're done for today. Prepare yourself because we will start sparring together next Saturday. We need to gauge this new power after all. Really? Sparring with you, All Might? That's amazing, Izuku shouted. Ha ha ha, I like your spirit. You better go back home now. We don't want to worry your mother. See you tomorrow, All Might, Izuku exclaimed as he waved goodbye to his hero. All Might waved back at Izuku, and the latter went back home content with his progress. The next day, the first class in Class 1A's curriculum was English, which was boring to everyone even though it was Present Mike who was teaching it. Lunch was at the main cafeteria, where students can buy gourmet food for reasonable prices. Of course, Izuku immediately started to fanboy once he met Lunch Rush, the cook hero in person. And then in the afternoon, Class 1A had hero basic training. I am. Izuku smirked as he knew exactly who it was. Coming through the door like a normal person. All Might burst through the door very dramatically, which was not normal at all. It's All Might, Kaminari said excitedly as he truly was hyped to be taught by none other than the #1 hero. Wow, he really is a teacher, Kirishima cheered as he stood up. That's a costume from the Silver Age, isn't it? Suyu said observantly. Its style is so different, it's giving me goosebumps, Ojiro stated as a bead of sweat rolled down his cheek. All Might marched to the teacher's podium. I teach hero basic training. It is a subject where you train in different ways to learn the basics of being a hero. You will take the most units of this subject. Let's get right into it. This is what we'll do today, combat training. All Might exclaimed as he held a card that read the word battle. Bakugo smirked in anticipation. Combat training. Izuku finished as he too was smirking. He had to admit he was just so excited to try his full cowl and test it against someone. And to go with that are these. All Might pointed to the wall as from holes installed there came out numbered boxes from 1 through 20. Costumes made based on your Quirk registrations and requests you sent in before school started. The students cheered in delight as they couldn't wait to try their new costumes on. Costumes, Izuku said to himself, eager to try his. After you change, gather in ground beta. Yes, sir. At ground beta. All Might stood at ground beta waiting for his students to arrive. After a couple of seconds, figures can be seen coming out through the tunnel. They say the clothes make the man, young men, and ladies. Be fully aware. From now on, you are heroes. As he said that, students from Class 1A all entered through the tunnel with their hero costumes equipped. Every costume was unique and fitted each of the aspiring heroes in training. All Might smiled as he greatly approved of everybody's gear. That's great, everyone. You all look cool. Now, shall we begin, you zygotes? Flashback to 3 weeks ago. I need to go to City Hall to get my Quirk registration for the clothing allowance, Izuku said as he was sitting on his couch with papers spread all around the table. He got caught up with all of the training with All Might that he forgot to send